Hello everybody and welcome to the Resident Evil podcast, episode 5.5. Today we're going to be having a discussion on Resident Evil Vendetta. We're going to start off with non-spoilers, so if you haven't seen the film, don't worry. We're going to do our non-spoiler review, and then we're going to get into spoilers and really dig into the film. But first I want to start off by saying if you have not listened to the Residents of Evil podcast episode 3 or episode 5, definitely check them out after this podcast. In the Residents of Evil podcast episode 3, we had an interview with Erin Cahill. She plays Rebecca Chambers in Resident Evil Vendetta, and then in the Residents of Evil podcast episode 5, Ollie had an interview with Kevin Dorman. He plays Chris Redfield in Resident Evil Vendetta. So they had a lot of really cool behind the scenes sort of stories, and then they talked a lot about their experiences working on the film, so it was a really good time. And it is a lot of fun to listen to, so after this, definitely check that out. But first, we're going to give sort of our non-spoiler reviews on it, and we're going to start off with characters. Tony, start us off with the characters.
Well, I mean, pretty much we've got the big three for this movie, because unlike past Resident Evil CGI movies, we've only had like two mainstay characters from the series join in. But this time, you know, we got Chris Redfield. This is his first appearance in a CGI movie. Leon is back. He's changed a lot, and they gave a lot to his character, something that they don't do for a lot of characters. A little tiny backstory, a little bit. And fan favorite, of course, Rebecca Chambers is back. I think she did great. I've seen a lot of people complain about certain little things, but I think given what they show in this movie and how she's changed over the years, I think it was done really well. And then obviously the big bad guy is Glenn Arias, and I think he's probably the best villain we've had so far. He's pretty complicated. Like, you think you know like how he is in the movie, and then things unfold later, and you're like, oh, well, that is new. I'll go with that. That's pretty good. You know, so like those are like the four main guys, pretty much. You know, you got Chris's team. Well, technically his second team. The first team that he teams up with, they're all red shirts. But this team, it's their special forces reformer, everything. Everybody, the BSAA takes everything from everywhere, pretty much.
Right. You got DC, Nadia, and Damien.
That's right. Yep. And there was that very awkward. What do you call it there? Like they actually did give them, I feel, like a little bit more personality than I thought that they would get in this kind of a movie. You know, I figured they'd just be like the one-off characters you wouldn't care, but I actually liked them. I thought they were pretty good. They all seemed very individual, and at the same time not your just average throwaway character. So I really enjoyed that.
Right, not throwaway, but not screen time hogging, I guess. They weren't extremely fleshed out, but they were enough to be invested in who they were as characters.
Bingo.
And then the director for this movie is Takanori Sugimoto. Mountain. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. Mountain!
But yeah, it's nice to see all of them in the movie together, and it's really, really cool to see Rebecca come up. That was one of the things that we're probably looking forward to the most, is finding out where she's been, because we've seen Chris and Leon for so long. We know what they've been doing, but seeing Rebecca come up again was a nice surprise. And like you said, Glenn Arias is a great villain. He's not a perfect villain. He's got his flaws like everything, but he was interesting and well done, well acted.
Sure. As far as what would you call it? As far as villains go in Resident Evil, because like you get some that are all right. I think he fits the motif for the world of Resident Evil. You know, compared to like some of like the minor bad guys we've gotten. You know. Yeah. So.
Yeah, he exactly. Also has he is very reminiscent of Albert Wesker, just kind of because he's. He has some fighting skills, and there is sort of a beef between him and Chris. So, you know, he does kind of fit some of the previous villains we had. But the backstory they give him in this movie, I think, in my opinion, was really deep and kind of really showed you why he is who he is. And, you know, we won't get into that now. We'll get into that more in the spoilers. But, yeah, I really did like that backstory they gave him, and it really gave him motive for, you know, kind of why he's doing what he's doing, but at the same time, dude's just kind of crazy, you know, like he's just kind of off the rocker, mad.
Screws loose. But it definitely, when the things happen that make him, that push the vendetta, you know, that give him this whole revenge ideal. It's just, I even said out loud, I was like, oh damn. So it was definitely unexpected.
that scene that basically shows why he is the way he is. Yeah, I said a little more than oh damn. I was kind of shocked. But I really did like that. So the main villain definitely had a strong backstory in this movie, which I really enjoyed. A lot of the previous movies, well, I guess you could say Resident Evil Degeneration, a lot of everything was straightforward. There wasn't too much. I guess Leon was kind of a robot. Everybody else kind of had more of
something to them.
Yeah, something to them, a personality. But as the movies progressed, I feel like everybody got more personality. And in this movie, I feel like the main villain had a lot of personality and a lot of backstory, and along with a lot of the characters also. Just from the start of the movie, the first opening line by Leon, and then into the chopper in the next scene with the sort of confrontation between, not really confrontation, but the little speech between Chris and his partner. You know, there was a lot more personality to these characters, and I enjoyed that they did that. I felt like it kind of took the movie from, you know, just another action CG Resident Evil movie to, oh no, this actually has some in-depth characters and plot.
Right, and it's very well tied into the lore that we have. It's not just a one-off movie. You know, they don't openly acknowledge everything, but you could tell these characters are you know, war-torn, war-worn, I guess. They've been through it. You could see it aging them, and
they've seen some shit,
man. Exactly. They've seen shit, they've done shit, and you could see it in this movie.
Oh, for sure. They all seem tired.
Yeah, they do. They seem exhausted.
Except for Rebecca.
Because she's like in her early 30s, I think. But isn't
jacked
like
up on Starbucks.
Yeah, that's true.
Man, with extra cookie chips.
but isn't like, but aren't like Chris, like, isn't Chris like 45 and Leon like 42 at this point?
They're
Probably.
older.
That seems about right.
I thought Chris was almost 50. Honestly, I was doing the math, and he seems to be. He's got to be almost 50. But anyways, he's older. He's up there. They're both up there. So yeah, no reason why
he was mid. He was mid-20s when Resident Evil 1 came out.
Yeah, I think 27.
If we were to stick to like the actual timeline of like real years, 20 years later, which I don't know if that actually carries over to Resident Evil or not, but
yeah,
then he'd be pushing 50, and then Leon would be early 40s.
Yeah, they look good for their age in this movie.
Right.
Is it just me, or did they kind of make Chris look a little younger than he did in Resident Evil 6?
I think they did, and less muscle.
It's that vegan diet, man.
Less
that
muscle.
vegan diet.
It's that vegan, gluten-free.
Gluten-free.
Well, yeah,
cut
whatever
carbs.
Whatever he's doing, that's the cure to staying young. What is
Jill told him to lay off the steroids, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that could be it. But Rebecca definitely. I really like the direction they took with her. She's now a professor, and she's kind of doing more what fits her character. When you look at her now, and just she's always been the brains. So when you take her in Resident Evil 1, yes, she was a badass and kind of handled herself, but she didn't stick along that route because this story kind of fits her more, to be a professor and stuff like that. So I like to see that. I like to see that not everybody stayed in it to sort of save the world. Like, she's saving the world in her own way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, she's pursuing her strengths.
Exactly.
So I guess we could get into, like, what is this movie actually about? What is the synopsis of it? The overall general story, not to get into a whole lot of details, is there's a new type of virus. This guy, Glenn Arias, who's an arms dealer, has acquired it, and he intends to use it. And Chris enlists the help of Rebecca because of her experience working on this virus and her knowledge behind all viruses, and Leon because he's a badass, to basically stop this guy from bringing Armageddon to New York City.
So it's
in a nutshell.
Yeah, it's your basic sort of bad guy wants power, then he wants to use that power to take over. It's the overall story in this movie wasn't necessarily the best part of it. It's not a reason to watch it for the story.
Yeah.
We're kind of talking about this.
They had moments where they tried to make it complicated. They had some details that were, I guess they were trying to add more depth to the story. But it's a very shallow story as it is, but it does have some nice parts to it.
Yeah, for sure. It wasn't just your basic story, but it was, right. it kind of was like that wasn't the strong point of this movie, and we're kind of talking about this as Resident Evil fans. you know, they made it they made it make sense, I guess, and there wasn't too many. Well, I don't know. That's tough. I guess into spoiler talk, we can talk more about that. There was some holes and stuff like that, but it was, you know, the story wasn't overly complicated, and you don't want to overthink it too much. Otherwise, you'll start to wonder
it's not
why.
Going to win any awards.
So you're going to start to wonder why.
It's a movie to sit down and just turn your brain off and enjoy.
Yeah, basically.
Pretty graphics, cool action, and halfway decent everything else. Voice acting was pretty good. I mean, we've talked to a few of the actors, and after watching it, we've seen, you know, they definitely produced what they needed to produce. It's a good movie as far as what their performance is. It's just like you said, the story is kind of a typical Resident Evil story. Yeah,
except I think it's stronger with the characters and the backstory they give to the characters and the personality they give to the characters. Exactly. I think that's more the strong point of this movie. You know, not so much what is Glenn trying to accomplish, but why is he doing this? That part is what surprised me about this movie, and I was surprised they put as much attention into that. So I guess that's what I would say more of. You know, we're not trying to do any spoilers or anything, so that's what I'd kind of say about the synopsis or the story of this movie. The strengths lie in the characters.
Yeah, definitely. So the acting was pretty good. The motion cap was phenomenal. It really was.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the fight scenes were awesome. It was believable between the acting and the motion capture. Everything was believable as a movie. Like, the graphics were good. Everything was good from that. The one thing I did notice is the lip sync does not match up.
Yeah, I was gonna say overall the CGI was great, but there was issues with there was times when it kind of took me out because the voices weren't matching up with and I was wondering if maybe that's because this movie was recorded. Is it for Japanese audiences? Like, it was made and then they kind of synced up the audio that that can't have been.
It probably I don't know.
Because they used English actors.
Yeah, well, I'm sure there's Japanese actors in it too, though.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I really don't.
Yeah, but there was some issues with that. Not a big deal. Overall, it looked really good. You know, usually CGI, you could say, like, it's not like for video games. You could say it's not all about the graphics. If it's a good game, it's a good game. But for a CGI movie that's all CGI, it's kind of important that it stays, you know, pretty good. And this movie definitely did a good job with the mocap and with the graphics and everything like that. And yes, like you said earlier, the fight scenes, that was another strong point of this movie. They handled the fight scenes super well. I
like these fight scenes more than the live action movies, because the live action movies is all like wire work and Matrix style crap, and this one was just
super edits.
Edits. The editing, you couldn't watch it because you didn't know what was going on. This is like, you really did. This is very gritty and passable, I guess. Yeah, they're badasses. They're on the John Wick level of action, but it's passable. It's not flying through the air and stupid stuff like that.
And at this point, don't you think maybe Chris and Leon should kind of have some combat skills? They've been doing this for a long time. This is their lives. You know, it was cool to see them sort of doing some of this. I'll save that part for spoiler talk. But yeah, overall badass action. Sometimes over the top in this movie.
Sometimes
there was some unbelievable things. A lot of times. So one thing, the live action, I'm not going to try to compare it to live action movies too much because they are completely separate, and I do prefer these movies. But in the live action movies, there's a lot of over the top action where things just don't make sense and they're kind of silly. There was some of that in here. And it didn't ruin the movie just for the fact that the characters stayed true to the characters. The story kind of stayed true to itself. And it wasn't trying to be something it wasn't. It was your basic, like Kevin Dorman said in your interview with him. He said it's a cheesy Resident Evil movie, and it kind of I once you take it for what it is, it's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. That's the truth behind it.
Yes, sir. So wait, we still got I guess spoilers coming up. So let's cover a little bit more about it before we jump into spoilers. I think there's more to say we could try to talk about before we get into that.
Do you want to give our rating system so people can get that before they listen to the spoilers?
Yeah, we'll go around and we'll kind of give what our overall thoughts on the movie were, where we felt it was strong, where we felt it was weak, without doing any spoilers. And then after, we'll go around, and then after that, we'll get into the spoilers. So let's start with you, Tony. What did you think overall of this movie? Where did you feel it was strong without kind of spoiling anything? And where did you feel it was weak? Or did you think it was amazing?
Well, that's the thing for me. Like, I found it really amazing. I kind of, because I started in the theaters. I think I was the only one here in the group that actually started in theaters, and I actually just rewatched it again the other night to prepare for this as well. And plus, I want to see it again.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel there really isn't like weak points to the movie, and at least how I see it. Maybe I missed something too, but I kind of feel that they didn't stay too long in one place. I didn't feel anything was dragged out. I didn't feel as if there were parts in there that really didn't need to be there. I kind of feel that every character was in this movie and they did something. You know, Chris is always doing his thing. Leon has a reason why he's sick and tired of a lot of stuff. You know, there's some things that are finally like just pushing him, Mr. Cool, like over the edge and everything, and you get to see Rebecca's growth, especially since of how she was within Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil 1. So you get to see the growth of her in this movie. And even, like, the side characters, you know, like, I mean, like, yeah, I kind of wish they did more with the other villains that belong with Glenn and everything like that. You do find out interesting things about them, which I thought was cool. I thought that was really cool, that the things you find out. But in the end, I'm just thinking to myself, yeah, like, I don't really have any problems with the movie. I mean, I think it's not really with the movie itself. I just kind of wish they threw another character like Jill in, because apparently like Capcom just seems to be forgetting about her.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, I really don't have a problem with this movie. I can keep watching it over and over because, like I said, I don't feel it drags on. I don't feel as if anything was really left out like 100% to really just make you not want to see the movie or even think it's bad. Like I said, I just really enjoyed everything about it because it was, for me personally, it's my favorite of the three.
Yeah, okay. I was going to ask you guys to rate this with the other three movies. So you say this is the best one.
Yeah, personally for me, I think each one got better and better. Like, Degeneration started off trying to find where it needed to be because it was the first live action that they did, you know. They needed to figure out something, and it was entertaining. There are things that are a bit of a bother. A lot of people were upset the fact that Claire kind of took a back seat in that movie to Angela, which I can understand because I was just like, yeah, you amped her up and not much happens with her. But it was still entertaining. The second one was the same thing, you know, like you got Leon and Ada, and they fixed what was wrong with Leon in the first movie. Yeah. And,
right.
You know,
yeah,
I think they did. Oh, yeah, totally. And I think when it came to the second one, they improved on it and made you more invested. That is the way to say it, I guess. You're more invested in the second one than you are the first one. I kind of feel the first one was just like, ooh, nostalgia, like Leon and Claire are teaming up again, like first time since like Raccoon City type deal.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
yeah, so I feel as if Damnation did a good job. Plus, let's face it, being able to control the liquors now through Las Plagas type deal, and the Mr. X's that just kept splattering them into like squishy like pulp and everything. And
I should add real quick, I felt bad for the liquors in the last movie because
honestly, I think a lot of people did. I've seen that. But yeah, and then like that was good, and I feel that when Vendetta came out, adding in the third character was perfect, and I just think overall it was a great movie. I mean, I can understand like it might not go anywhere. We'll talk about that later because a lot of these movies don't seem to connect to anything. They allude to things, but don't necessarily wrap up a lot. But it's interesting. Yeah, and like that's the best way I can to end it right there. Is that it's fun. Resident Evil fans of the games will enjoy it because the over the top moments that didn't work in RE6 and even in RE5, even though in RE5 it is pretty funny for some of the things. It works very well for this movie because they know what they're doing in this movie. They take themselves seriously when they need to. They don't when they just kind of go off the rails, and it works for them. Kind of like pretty much anything Platinum Games does. It's over the top action, and it works for them. And I think that the guy directing this movie realized that. Like, he knew when to be serious, and he knew when to be over the top and make it work.
Sort of like a B movie, right?
Bingo.
Yes, and that's cool, and that's kind of where Resident Evil, is strong. It's strong with delivering seriousness where it needs to, but also having the cheese factor to it. And I would say that these movies are kind of like Resident Evil 4. And when I say that, it's because Resident Evil 4 is Resident Evil 4, but that story is kind of its own thing. It's kind of Leon's mission, but really doesn't have much to do with the overall story. And that's kind of what these movies are. So they tie in, and they're part of the canon, but they are their own thing.
Right.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's the best way to put it. Yeah.
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 Ollie, what did you think of Resident Evil Vendetta overall?
I liked it. Like I said, it's good to see all the characters. It's good to see Chris in a live action film given justice, and it was really awesome to see Rebecca again, to see where she's been and what she's been doing. And Leon, as always, is good to have him. Glenn is a good villain. The plot was substantial. It did what it needed to do, and then the action was really cool. So it was good. It had a lot of good elements to it that I liked. So it was very enjoyable. As far as where it falls in the series, I still kind of lean more towards like Damnation, because of the things we already discussed on it, and there were some pretty interesting characters, some that I liked more than the ones that were in Vendetta, like the Mohawk dude. I liked him a lot in Damnation. He was funny, and
he had a good arc too.
He really did. That's why I liked it. Actually, yeah, you know what? They all did. Even the guy that was running the little rebellion, he had a good arc too.
Yeah, I wish we could maybe down the road we can have a podcast on that, because
Damnation
I
review.
really
That'd be a
like
good idea.
Damnation. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's not. I wouldn't put Vendetta as the best in this series of movies, but I definitely say it's a strong second. And battling for first, but I like Damnation more. So that's kind of where I'm sticking.
That's totally fine. You're allowed to be wrong. It's okay. What?
Tony's one of them guys who's not gonna like be an asshole to you, but he's gonna tell you you're wrong in a nice way.
Pretty much.
Yeah, if you want to be on the wrong side of things.
Yeah, I guess. I'd have to agree with you, Ollie. I did go back right after I got done with this movie. I wanted to go back and watch the last one because right away I felt like this was the best one. I love seeing Chris in, like, don't get me wrong, I love Rebecca and I love seeing her come back and I love seeing what they did with her. I felt like they handled her character very well. A lot of people say that she might have kind of was the damsel in distress again, and I don't think so. I think she was badass, and when she needed to step up, she stepped up in this movie and handled herself very well.
I never saw Rebecca as a warrior. I mean, she did well in Zero. She did great, right? But she had Billy helping her too.
Exactly.
In Resident Evil 1, she wasn't really, I mean, Chris helped her. So she's not the strongest combatant. But
we talked about this, though.
A genius, So.
Yeah, she's strong where she's strong is her brain, and that's what she used. And I really like that in this movie. But seeing Chris and Leon, my two favorite characters of all time, and especially in the Resident Evil series, like, teaming up, that just fanboy in me just like screamed during this movie, like fuck yeah, especially the hallway scene, which we'll get into later. So right away I was like, this is my favorite movie. But then I thought about it and I was like, no, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna watch the last one, because I know the last one was really strong. Like you said, Tony, the first one was kind of figuring out how these movies are gonna work, and some things weren't perfect with the acting or the characters. I thought Claire was fine. Claire was perfect. Leon was a robot. But I went back and watched the last one, and I have to say, I think I might like the second one more. But this is still a great movie, especially for Resident Evil fans. This pays way more respect to the series than the live action movies do. For if you're a Resident Evil fan and you enjoy the games and you even kind of pay attention to the stories, you should watch these movies. And like you said, they're not going to change the overall story of the game. They're more sort of their own side stories, like Resident Evil 4.
Right.
But the characters were great. Chris in this movie acted like Chris. Leon acted like Chris from Resident Evil 6. And we'll get into that more in spoilers. But overall, Leon was Leon and Chris was Chris, and Rebecca was Rebecca, and Erin Cahill did a great job voicing her. She really, kind of was the voice of the character, kind of fit the character, how I was expecting. The story, it is what it is. Unfortunately, I think the story was the weakest point in this. It reminded me a lot of Resident Evil 6, where everything needs to be bigger and bigger. And now we're in New York, and that's kind of where everything kind of that was the weakest part of this movie. But the enemies, having zombies back, like, we won't go too into the details of the enemies, but yes, you've seen zombies in the trailer. Awesome. I love zombies. I love having them back. Zombies weren't always the staple to the series. It was BOWs, and there's some of those in there, which is awesome. The backstory to the villain, amazing. The villain himself was great. This movie did not hold back. There was some moments in this movie that were super graphic and stuff you wouldn't expect to see. And I just remember watching and be like, holy fuck, they actually did that. Oh, okay.
Okay.
So, this movie, like I said, it fails with the story. It's got the coincidental moments. It's got the, oh yeah, right. It's got that. But it's strong in its characters. It's strong in staying true to the Resident Evil sort of series and characters. The villain I really enjoyed. And the graphics and mocap were excellent. Overall, I think this movie was a lot of fun. I'm not going to, don't overthink it because you'll start to find holes and stuff. But overall, it's enjoyable. If you're a Resident Evil fan, it's enjoyable. You should watch this. It's not going to be perfect. You're not going to love it, but you're really going to enjoy it. That's my take on it. Second best of the three.
Yep, I completely agree with that.
All right, spoilers?
Let's do it.
Let's jump right into it. Right, okay.
You've been warned.
You have been warned. We are going to get into spoilers now.
Yeah.
We're really going to dig into this movie. We're going to get into some of its pros and cons. There was a lot of both, I feel like. It was overall enjoyable, but it did have its issues and its flaws. Ali, you wrote out sort of the perfect synopsis of... How would you describe what you wrote?
Okay, so what I wrote, I actually started writing. I was going to write a synopsis for the earlier part of the review, just kind of, detailing some parts of the story. I realized when I started writing it that I was writing way too much, and I was catching a lot of spoilers and a lot of plot holes that were kind of funny. So it's kind of my take on the first real opening act of the movie with some humor behind it.
This is Ollie's review.
Okay, so this is how it starts. Chris is teamed up with a military unit, and they're raiding one of Glenn Arias' compounds, right? And the scene is very much like the opening to Resident Evil 1. You got the helicopter coming into the woods, and they're going to this big mansion. And Chris is sitting there in this helicopter. He's got this real arrogant soldier. He may be a Marine, but I don't think they state what unit or what service they're under. But anyways, he's a soldier from the unit, and he's mocking Chris. He's like about being a hero and this and that. And so Chris gives him this whole "everyone you love will die" speech. So the arrogant D-bag shuts up. And Chris explains that they're looking for an undercover operative and her son that were implanted into Arias's organization, which I don't understand why her son was involved. It's completely beyond me why they sent her son in there too.
Yeah.
Maybe he's like a little mini spy. I don't know. So, it's just weird, right? It's like,
it seems very cruel to add her son in when he has nothing to do with this. Come on, leave the kids alone.
Yeah, the mom's like, "Hey, this deployment, is it co-location? Can I take my family with me?" They're like, "I guess."
Think of the children.
Think of the children.
Everyone's fair game in this movie.
Right. So they land their helicopter in the woods, and then they bust into this like crackhead version of the Spencer estate.
No lights.
Yeah, no lights, all spider webs. I'm like, does anybody even live here or what? So
Wesker wasn't there to light all the candles before they got there.
I know, right? I mean, this place is like a real shithole. So
yeah.
Like this guy is like, millionaire master of arms trading, and he lives in a total dump. That probably should have been your first clue.
What? I'd live there. That's very reminiscent of the Spencer mansion. It looks really cold though. It needs some heat and some lights.
But it is a cool looking mansion though. If it were actually cleaned up and taken care of, you get a couple housekeepers in there, you're good to go. So,
yeah, for sure.
So while they're searching the rooms of this big estate, the spooky stuff starts to happen. And then there's a fire team of expendable soldiers, and they come across this really uncomfortably small bedroom. Right, it's this really, really tiny small bedroom with like a queen size bed, and there's no room to walk in there. I'm like,
there's a fireplace in there, isn't there?
No, that was in the dining room. This had like a dresser and a bed, and that was it. It was like the size of like a like a walk-in closet. I'm like, this. It made me really uncomfortable because like claustrophobia. So there's no room to move in there.
Fireplaces in every room. Just kidding.
Right, they should have one in every room. So, anyways, so they're in this small room. And they get startled by something moving under the covers of the bed. And the guy pulls back the covers, and he reveals a remote-controlled truck. And then they laugh at each other because they're pathetic and stupid. Right?
And he really likes trucks.
He really likes the truck, and he's like looking at it. And then the wheel moves again, so he drops it, and they laugh at him again. And then so they turn around, and they see this like small silhouette crouched behind a dresser. And as the silhouette, the figure stands and moves out of the shadows, we see it's a little zombie boy. And the soldiers apparently have never seen a zombie movie before because all signs point to blowing this little bastard away. Instead of doing that, they try to approach the boy and thus become zombie num-nums. As so, and we find out later what happened to them. But they're num-nums. So,
we'll get more into that later.
Yeah. Meanwhile, another team is searching the dining room because every nice giant Spencer estate-looking mansion needs to have a dining room.
For Barry to say, a dining room.
I hope this isn't Chris's dining room. So anyways, they're searching this, and they get attacked by half of a zombie. Yes, that's right, half of a zombie. Putting the special in special ops. So this half zombie warlock kills 2 of the team members, and the other 2 they split. They haul ass out of there, right?
I would too.
And they run. Yeah, I know, right? It's like this. It's half of a zombie. So
warlock is a good way to describe it.
It really is.
Get
it really
the fuck
out. So they haul ass, and they're running down this hallway, and they split, right? No, they literally split into pieces because down this hallway there was booby trap razor wire that cuts them into pieces.
Oh, and, they should have paid attention.
Paul W.S. Anderson strikes again.
Oh, jeez. Son of a bitch.
They even did this, like, the zoom in on the face, and you see the blood start to trickle, and then they fall into pieces. So I was like, really? Come on, guys. So
these CGI movies haven't fully diverged from the live-action movies yet.
No, not yet. So, anyways, and you look down. So, it's Paul W.S. Anderson, he strikes again. Or maybe it's just Glenn Arias. And they show him down at the end of the hallway smirking because his house of death has been successful. And meanwhile, we flip back to Chris, who's finds a little zombie boy's room, and he kills everything, including the arrogant soldier from the helicopter who decided to shove his arm into the open mouth of a zombie sprout. So I don't think he knows how zombies work either.
Apparently, none of them know anything for the last,
it's a zombie
15
child.
years.
It's not that hard, okay?
Yeah.
Not that hard. Just get the belt out. No.
Get the belt out.
I do not condone
child abuse, but when the thing opens its mouth literally detaches from its head, and it's got blood all over. You put it down.
Trying to eat you, then have at it. Fair game.
Yep, I agree.
But nobody expected that guy to survive anyways, right? Because he's a D-bag. When you start off the movie asking, and you get the whole speech about killing everyone you love, you're probably gonna die. I'm just saying. Anyway, so he kills him, and then Chris gets overrun by some slow zombies, and he decides to jump out of a window, which is weird because he literally beats the hell out of a whole hallway of like 100 zombies later in the movie, but we're not there yet.
When you said that, like literally, I was just like, why? Like, this is why you got to turn your brain off when you watch this, because that makes so much sense. Why the hell would he jump out that window when he just has no problem with zombies? Like, I don't get it. But I guess, jump out the window. It's cool. Leon did it in Resident Evil 4.
He even just dives straight out the window. Leon used to do like a combat roll parkour when he hit the ground. He just flat out lands on his belly flop. So it's crazy. So he crashes to the ground outside, and then he gets his ass kicked by Glenn Arias, who is a highly trained Super Saiyan. This guy's got moves, man. You could tell like he grew up in a bad environment around bad people, and he fought for his life, his whole life. He kicked the shit out of.
Might as well. Chris needs to learn how to fight or start going back on steroids or something.
It seems like
that.
Chris knows how to fight, but he just goes up against these superhumans that he's no match for. It's like,
I think we miss like a part of the movie between this and later in the hallway where he just goes and does a Rocky montage.
Yeah, for real. I feel like
the director's cut.
Chris has probably got some severe ego issues, and maybe that's why he got so jacked, is because he felt like he was never good enough fighting Albert Wesker and now Glenn Arias. Like, don't be surprised if in his next installment he's jacked to the tits again because he got his ass kicked by Glenn Arias.
You know what? I'm just gonna steal a line from Mr. Miyagi here. Boulder don't hit back.
Oh, gee, there you go.
So, anyways. Exactly. He gets his ass kicked, but instead of killing Chris, because he steals Chris's gun at one point and shoots him in his body armor, we're like, why didn't just shoot him in the head?
But that's kind of like the ultimate, like, fuck you. I didn't kill you, but I grabbed your gun, kicked your ass, grabbed your gun, and I shot you with it. And I let you live,
And then, but instead of killing him, he goes into this whole monologue, and then he brings out the woman that Chris has been searching for, and yes, she is a zombie. Which Arias explains that his new virus can manipulate zombies into recognizing allies and enemies. So, he brings them out. He's got his little stooges there, which we talk about later, I guess, when we get to them. But it's Diego, this giant, like, Hulk dude. I
call him Nemesis 2.0.
Yeah, he's gigantic for no fucking reason.
He's like what Chris would look like if he never cut the steroids and just kept getting jacked.
This is exactly true. This is
Hulk.
Chris if he never quit steroids. And then you got this really hot blonde chick who's like, Sniper Wolf. She's got the latex bodysuit with the cleavage and the long blonde hair. I'm like, yeah, that's not ripping off of Kojima. So.
Yeah, she doesn't really fit like she looks kind of like that one girl from Resident Evil Revelations who had like the one leg cut off.
Rachel.
Yeah, Rachel. Like it's just kind of like, okay, I see what you're doing here, but you know,
I'm not gonna argue. She's nice to look at.
Personally, I honestly think the girl should have like she was straight out of the Dead or Alive games.
Oh yeah,
that's the best way to put it.
Because like there's a character, one of the Ayane. She has an outfit that's like somewhat similar to that, and everything, and she kind of looks like a DOA girl with like just like how her body's proportioned and everything, and the revealing outfit and stuff. So it literally like just was. When I first saw that, I'm like, she just belongs in DOA at this point,
right? So we get there our first look at them, and then Arias he sticks his little zombie lady puppy pet on Chris and a bunch of other zombie puppets, and Chris is about to become a nice tasty snack when here comes the helicopter from out of nowhere, just mows down all the zombies,
to save the day.
Bullets, shooting bullets everywhere from this chain gun, right? This Gatling gun, just putting rounds down range, doesn't hit Chris at all.
Yeah, but it's badass. Okay,
it is pretty badass.
And you know, Chris has been through a lot. Thank God he didn't get hit with those bullets because he got to relive the Spencer Mansion. That probably was PTSD in enough. And then his whole team died again, which is
Wesker 2.0.
Yeah, by Wesker 2.0, which is basically just like a second fuck you. And then he jumps out a window and gets his ass kicked by Wesker 2.0. That's a third fuck you. And then and then he gets shot in the back. So he's completely emasculated. He failed his mission. Yeah, he failed his mission because of the wife and the son were both turned. Yeah.
Zombie Town.
So
Zombie Town.
5 fuck yous. Okay, Chris already at the beginning of the movie, Chris has been through enough to put somebody into retirement for the rest of their life.
Yeah. But this is Chris. He doesn't fail.
Yeah.
He keeps fighting.
He says he's not a hero, but he's humble.
He's humbly a badass that never quits.
Exactly.
So this helicopter mows down all these zombies, and it's just putting rounds, just blasting everything, and it hits this propane tank. Propane and propane accessories, which explodes in a fiery ball of flames. Yeah. Hank with the propane tanks.
Yeah.
So it's this fireball, like it blows up, fireball of flames, and then Chris is left holding the deader body because she was already dead. Now she's deader of the lady that he was sent to rescue. And he's sitting there screaming to the skies as like the fire burns behind him, and then the words pop up: Resident Evil, Vendetta.
Ooh. What a great intro and what a great synopsis you just wrote there. That was perfect.
Yeah. I would have gone longer, but I kind of like that was a lot.
Yeah, that was a lot. And there's already so much now to discuss about that.
Yeah.
No, that was great. This movie opens really strong. You have before all of this, Chris, getting screwed over countless times. You have Leon walking down a corridor in a mortuary. I said it right this time. And basically he goes through a line. He says, when I was a child, I never expected my life would be like this. And it was a really cool kind of introduction to the strong points of this movie, the characters, and sort of the backstory we haven't seen, with these characters ever. So when Leon said that he never expected his life would be like this, I was just like, oh, I want to see, a flashback to young Leon. We didn't get that, but it was some in-depth to the characters. And then the movie kicks in and you have Chris going on his mission, and they're kind of going over the synopsis, and you have that one cocky guy, talking to him about zombies. Or what exactly does he say at that point?
About the whole speech to Chris?
Yeah.
He says, so what, you're some kind of big hero or something?
Yeah.
And then Chris is like, I want you to imagine there's companies out there that, are creating these viruses that will kill everyone you love. And at first, I think he's like, you got family, you got friends. He's like, yeah, I got a mom, I got a sister.
Yeah.
And he's like, now I want you to imagine there's this company that's creating these viruses that will kill all your friends, and then you're going to someday have to kill them or something like that. And then
exactly. And anyways, the movie, it got way deeper than I expected, and I was just like, wow, that is extremely impressive that they're giving these characters that much I don't know, like it was just the way that they handled that and the way that they got deep like that. It just, they put a lot more behind these characters than they did in previous films, and that was, like I said, kind of my strong suit throughout the movie. I really liked what they did with them, and how much they added to these characters. They've been through a lot, and they kind of acknowledge that. And Chris,
right,
with the whole not a hero thing, he's extremely humble. I just wasn't expecting that sort of reply, and I was kind of blown away by that, like, whoa, yeah, damn. And so then we get the sort of Spencer estate 2.0 with Wesker 2.0. And it was a really cool homage to the first Resident Evil game.
It was atmosphere-wise, it was nice. It was cool to see zombies.
It was
really good. I liked it. You know, it wasn't over the top action yet. It was still very claustrophobic and limited, and I liked it a lot. It was well done.
And it, like I said, it was an homage to the original, but like when you think about it, it's like, oh, this, you know, why are they going back to a house that looks like this? But you don't want to overthink it. You just want to kind of enjoy it as a Resident Evil fan and see these things. And
Right.
this is really the horror. I want to say kind of the only horror to this movie took place in this house. You have the kid with the dislocating jaw that just kind of killed that whole unprofessional team. You had that half warlock zombie that you mentioned. That thing was scary as fuck.
Its spine was like a scorpion's tail. It was kind of cool.
It reminds me kind of that you guys watch SpongeBob, that little grandma in the wheelchair that's just a spinal cord, except it had arms. And,
Oh no, that must have been a horror episode or something. What the hell?
I don't recall that.
You guys don't remember that? Okay. So SpongeBob had this really old lady in a wheelchair, and she was just basically a head that was kind of a skeleton and a spinal cord. That's what this was, but it had arms and long hair, and it just kind of. It reminded me of the. You guys ever watch Cabin in the Woods? The mermaids.
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of that. Just they float around really fast, attacking people, jumping on their heads. It was fucking awesome. And I was just like, holy shit, are we going to see more of these sort of, monsters in this movie? Unfortunately, no. We get zombies, which is cool, but they were kind of the two unique of what we're going to see, despite Diego and whatever her name was, Hulk and DOA character. We don't really get a whole lot different except for the end when we get the main boss. But overall, I really like this scene. It was a great homage back to the original Resident Evil. Chris, and like I said, Chris stays true to his character. He gets his ass handed to him, and his team dies. But you get to see the BSAA kind of for the in a movie, and they come to save the day. And overall, I like the scene. I really did. Don't overthink it because it's kind of silly, but Glenn kind of shows you Glenn's a badass. He doesn't fuck around. He knows his fighting. He's trained for this. So what do you guys think about this scene?
He's a formidable opponent.
Yes, he is a formidable opponent, and you don't need steroids to kick ass.
No.
He wears a suit. That's another slap in the face.
That's the other thing too. Is like I'm kicking your ass in a 3-piece suit. How you like me now?
Oof. Sorry, Chris.
Catch me outside.
I like
Jesus, no.
Sorry.
Sorry. But I guess Tony, what did you think about this opening sort of scene?
That was good. There's really like no complaints with it from me. Like the soldiers were cannon fodder. Like I kind of feel that like they probably never dealt with bioweapons before, really, or at least like in that kind of a situation. But yeah, they all got destroyed. I mean, and the virus is fast acting too, so you get bit. It's literally not even like a full minute. It seems.
Yeah, that guy got bit, and within like a minute, he was already turning.
Yep, and then like the soldier that was under the bed with everybody else, and the zombies.
Yeah.
The other two soldiers were in the back of the bed, and it's just like, wait a minute, how did nobody see or hear any of that? Yeah. But it really is a good throwback to the original Resident Evil. Like a lot of the styles, if you go back and play, especially if you play Remake, you can see like the damage done to the house more. It's easier to know because the original Spencer Mansion, it didn't look decrepit. It just looked like it was really from the era which it was built, because it was done, I think, like in the 60s or the 70s, and like a lot of the wallpaper, the woodwork, a lot of the furniture you find was from that era, and it was It was really good. I thought it was really good. But yeah, no, they what do you call it there? They did a really good job with that mansion because it was more reminiscent of the remake one, and I think everything about it was great. I think how it went about. I mean, yeah, the half zombie chick like just poking her head out from under the
that cool little moment. That was creepy. Yeah. That was very much remember the demo for Resident Evil 7 beginning hour?
Yes. Yeah.
Remember the ghost? I don't remember. Did they ever name the ghost? I always called her Mindy. And the chick in the white dress that you would catch at random times in the house. Like it was my pursuit in that demo. I played that demo for like hour upon hour to see if I could see her in every variation. So like I said, I called her Mindy, but that's what she reminded me of, hanging down from the fireplace from the pit.
Right, yeah, I can see that. But yeah, no, other than that, yeah, like I thought it was great. I thought the fight between Chris and Glenn at the end was really good because not only is like the camera work really well in it, but like the stunt work and the fight tech choreography is really good. Now, question: was it Kevin Dorman that did the motion capture?
No, it's
For Chris?
Ruben Langdon did.
Okay, so I figured as much if that's what it was, because I mean it makes sense because Ruben's been doing it since the original. Since Code Veronica.
Actually, no, he's actually been doing it since Resident Evil 1.
He said that in an interview.
Yeah, he's mentioned that in an interview that that was his first motion capture job, was Resident Evil 1 in '97.
Even all the way back then, holy shit.
Well, 97 when released, but he was talking about that. Chris was his first character, and he's pretty much played Chris since. So
yeah, that's pretty cool. So like, if any of our followers have ever played the Devil May Cry games, I know like a lot of Capcom people usually play a lot of the same games and stuff. And if you've seen what he's done throughout from doing Devil May Cry 3 and doing Devil May Cry 4. It's really incredible the work that he does. I mean, and I'm not talking about like what you see in the game. When you see what Ruben Langdon does off screen, like when he trains with the people and they have their fight scenes, it's unreal. Like the guy is like a literal living weapon. He's precise, he's quick. So that's what you get in this game, and I think that in this movie, and I really think that it shows. The whole John Wick thing is taking the world by storm. They stopped doing the Hollywood shaky cam. They're keeping it like the Hong Kong action stuff where they don't shake the camera and it's not a super cut every time.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think the cutscenes for games and CGI movies like this and even American-made movies are catching on. So right there, I think that was like a great way to start the movie.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Like if you really like fighting scenes and well choreographed fighting, like don't be turned off because it's CGI. It's awesome. It's great fighting. It's very
clean.
I
mean, Jason Font does Leon, and like I said, Ruben does Chris, and it's just so well choreographed. You could tell both of those guys are professionals. They're both very well trained, and it comes out. It's nice. It's nice to watch.
Yes. Okay, I guess. Jeff, did you give your thoughts on
what the opening part?
Yeah.
Well, you got my
your thoughts were on the read through.
But
okay.
I've had my moments. Do you want to move on to the next part?
Yeah, the next part. Yeah.
So the next part, if I remember correctly, I might be off on my order here, but if I remember, the next part I think actually introduces Glenn Arias' background and why he has his vendetta. They show him at a wedding, and he's getting married. They don't show really anybody's faces. They just show him. Everybody's there. It's a nice outside wedding, very quiet and peaceful, and it's great. And he's holding his wife's hand, and they show the rings and all that. And then he looks up to the sky and he sees a drone incoming that drops this bomb that just blows the shit out of everything. And they show the explosion from a distance. You just see this big mushroom and everything. It destroys everything. It's horrible. And when they come back into the scene, where the wedding was, he's the only one that's survived the blast, and he's standing there. And he's still holding onto his wife's hand, but when he lifts his arm up to look at it, it's just her arm. There's nothing else there. Everybody is dead but him. And he screams, and it hits you deep. Like you're like, okay, that shit sucked.
Yeah.
That's horrible. And I don't care if he's a bad guy. You don't bomb somebody on their damn wedding day, and you don't kill everybody he loves. And if you're gonna do it, you better kill him too, because this is what drives his motivation.
How you create terrorists. Yeah,
exactly.
And
he may have been a bad guy before you, and you made him 1,000 times worse.
Exactly.
And that's why I really love this scene, because not for what happened, like the scene where he's just looking up, screaming with the wife's hand. It was all went from being very colorful and vibrant to just black and white, and you just kind of
it's flames and devastation.
Yeah, it was impressive for a Resident Evil movie how deep it got, and like I said earlier, this movie gets deep, and it just really gave a backstory, because the first thing I thought when I watched it was, oh shit, when I seen the wedding, I was like, in real life they do this to terrorists. They go and they bomb the wedding, and sometimes there's kids, sometimes all the times there's kids, all the times there's family, and they're just going for one person, and sometimes it's not even the person they're going for. So when I seen this, I was like, damn man, this movie's not afraid to take risks. They're really bringing this, they're tying this in with real world events. And I really appreciated that. I thought, like, this is a separate universe where Resident Evil takes place, and it's not so much about, like, terrorist attacks and stuff, but it's more terrorist attacks with BOWs and stuff. So it fit really well, and I was just like, yeah, man, I don't know. It would be hard if I was in that situation to not retaliate. Maybe not the same way as him, but I would be fucking pissed, and I would want revenge. And I would go after beyond the law, to get that revenge. And that's why this scene was honestly probably the most powerful scene in the entire movie.
And you know how I mean, you see shades of his mindset later, like where his mind is.
He's
but
not right.
Throughout most of the movie, he's very calm and collected and focused.
Yes.
And it's not until a later part in the movie when something kind of starts to trigger him a little bit and throws him down a darker, crazier tunnel.
And you see he's not all there upstairs. Yeah.
But the guy definitely has focus. He's resourceful and very focused.
Yeah, and that's why I liked so much about him is he has a good backstory, but he's also very calm and collective and also insane at the same time.
Yeah.
And the bombing his wedding did not help.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What did you think, Tony, of this scene?
I thought it was completely and utterly fucked up. I mean, I was just like, wow, they're doing something different with this. All right. And, I mean, even Leon says it, like, later on. It's like, you gotta feel bad for the guy, government dropping bombs on somebody's wedding, and clearly, I'm pretty sure we can all assume that it was the U.S. of A. that probably did it.
Yeah, they never say who dropped it, but if he's gonna do an attack in New York, I mean, who do you think dropped it?
Exactly. So, like, it made the most sense that it was Uncle Sam dropping the bomb there, but it does, like, I mean, it sets it up because, like, he's not a one-dimensional villain in many ways. His way of, I mean, like. You can have stories of revenge and everything like that, and there's so many of them that do it the same way. But I feel like in this movie it was done a little bit better because it was just like, wow, the dude's whole family got like nuked, and he's not. I mean, he says he wants revenge, but I personally think his screw is beyond loose and popped out. I don't even think he realizes what he's truly going and doing the whole time at some point. Yeah, exactly. I don't think he's fully thought everything through. I think he's kind of just like going with it and making small plans along the way.
Right. Yeah.
That's a good point.
It's a short scene. It's not very long, but it sets the tone behind everything, and it's big, man. It's impactful.
And where you say that he's not all there, and he kind of like you can see where things fall apart. He's very calm and collective, and that's why he carries through with what he's going to do. But you can see that there's
those suits he's wearing are
oh nice, hell yeah,
man.
They're super nice.
Dude's got a good taste. I liked it.
But there are faults to the character. He's not just as calm, collective. He's insane, and you can see like like he might be successful in what he's trying to do, but he's gonna fall because he has these personal issues. He has basically these things that are keeping him from being a perfect villain. Like he has these faults and this insane attitude. So I like that too. Like there's layers to this character, like you said. It wasn't just he's insane or he's just calm and collected. Like no, he's a broken person who has a good way of hiding it.
If you were to think like maybe your top villains in RE, a lot of people are going to point to Wesker being the first because he's been around for so long. And then there's like the Ashfords are amazing. In Birkin, just there's so many great villains that he fits up there with some of the best of them.
Oh, for
and there's
sure.
a lot of throwaway villains that you're like, it's a one and done.
Yeah.
His motivations weren't really that interesting, like most of Resident Evil 6's characters, and some of the movie characters. But this one actually, I really liked what they did with him. I liked him. If he wasn't dropping the virus and trying to kill everybody, I wouldn't mind seeing more of him.
For sure. And like you said, there was main villains we've had and there was other throwaway villains, but honestly he really is up there with probably some of the top villains in the series, just for the fact that his backstory and the way he is, why he is grounded in reality. I think that, and they haven't really explored like over time with these main enemies they've explored, but they never really set it up like this, and that's why I really like the main villain, and I really like his motives and why he's doing what he's doing, and I feel like that's the strongest point of the movie.
This is going to jump the timeline here, but at the end, not to get too detailed because we'll get to that, I think because I mean there's parts where he talks about he's brought people back from the dead, right?
Yeah.
Not just as zombies, he's brought pieces of people back and made them fully alive again. The chick, the blonde one, at the end, it may lead into maybe he might be back. It may not be the end of him. He may have wound up in quite literally pieces.
Yeah.
Those pieces might come back. I don't know.
But she's gonna carry on whatever he was doing.
Yeah.
Like I said,
I would like to see him come back because he's an interesting villain, and he's got a lot of ways to go in this movie that we're gonna get to.
Yeah. I don't. Okay, I guess I could say for that character, I don't think I'd like to see him come back because things concluded pretty well for
Yeah,
him. But I would
right,
like
story
to
of-
see maybe some more of young Glenn Arias with his sort of terrorist, sort of like what was he? He was what was he originally?
Arms dealer.
An
Arms
arms
dealer.
dealer. I would love to see just like in a new game that comes out, just sort of like, or if it flashes back, it just kind of shows.
Actually, yeah, that
him
would be
and
nice.
his-
Maybe Revelations 3. That'd be cool.
him in his prime, just sort of dealing behind the scenes. Nothing to do with the overall game, but just kind of he's there doing weapons deals, and it's just, oh, your name's Glenn, okay, and then the story continues. I think that would be
Yeah, just
really
a little,
cool.
just a little teaser.
Yeah.
He's the Merchant of Death. Maybe somebody in one of the side games, because the storyline for this is supposed to fit between 6 and 7, so we won't see in a main entry, but like I said, Revelations 3 or something, or we could come across that.
For sure. So I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, definitely. So moving on, after that we're introduced to Rebecca, and it's a university in Chicago. I don't think they even named the university. It just said Chicago, and she's a professor now. After all these years, she's a teacher, and I don't think she even teaches. she's just got like a doctorate degree, and they call her a professor. So
She's doing her own thing. She's got her own lab.
She's there like researching in her own lab with her own assistants, researching this virus that has been popping up everywhere. And she's got like footage that she sees and knows this virus is out there. They've got samples, and she's already, with the technology they have now, developing a cure. It's already pretty much done, but they don't quite know exactly how it's being, I guess, applied or instituted. I don't know how it's being like infecting people. She hasn't quite got that part yet, but she has a lot of research, and she's right there. And it's a nice little scene. You get to see her assistants and how much they like her, and how attached they are. They're bringing her coffee, and she's kind of joking with them, and she's very lighthearted. It's nice to see Rebecca like that.
And she definitely loves caramel macchiato.
Yes, that's her drink, caramel macchiato with chocolate chips. And then her assistant's like, that's not a drink, that's a dessert.
Exactly.
She's basically like, know your role or I'll fire you. No.
Real quick, onto what this is kind of a side thing, but onto what Kevin Dorman said in the interview you had with him. He said that he thinks Chris would be with Rebecca. I think Rebecca would be with that nerdy guy if he didn't unfortunately die soon after this scene.
They have some chemistry. I think she's more into the brains than the brawn.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
I
just
always
want to throw that in.
I think that Chris sees her more as a younger sister because she's so close to Claire's age.
Same here.
And very protective of her.
But then what happens?
So anyways, they have some samples of these zombies, and she's sending her assistant out because everybody else is gone, like the interns. She's going to tell him to go get some samples. So he leaves the room, walking down the hall, and then out of nowhere, here comes the blonde chick, and she just like snaps his neck. Right? She drops him right there in the hallway, like, okay, well, he's not going to be back later. He's done.
I felt bad.
End of his story. And then she goes to like the ventilation system and puts down this device that puts in all this like smoke, this vapor stuff into the air, which basically turns everybody into damn zombies, including Rebecca for a moment. She's not exactly a zombie, but she's infected. And you can see when these people get infected, like their veins start to get like real bulgy and purple, and their skin starts to get pale. And you see as it spreads up to like the brain, which is like the ultimate, okay, it took over you. And she knows something's wrong, so she goes out to kind of see what's going on, because she's starting to get sick, and she's trying to move towards the lab, and she gets in there, and they have like a vaccine, a cure already ready to go. So she's lucky enough that this happened, and she didn't get infected immediately, which I have theories on why that is once we get into the actual breakdown of why the virus affects people.
Okay.
So she takes her vaccine, and she's good. She's hurt. She's her body's reacting to it, but she's good. The virus has subsided, and she's good to go. She leaves that area, and then she spots a zombie eating somebody on the floor, which happens to be her assistant, the broken neck dude, Mr. Caramel Macchiato guy. She sees him, and then he gets up, and of course he attacks her, and she kind of escapes, and then she ends up grabbing a fire extinguisher and beats his head in with it. So, gets back to her desk. She's hiding, takes a drink of this water. Zombie attacks her. She throws one off. Second zombie attacks her. She stabs him in the head with some scissors. And the other one gets up and pins her down. It's just as about to bite her, it gets blasted in the head. And it's none other than Chris, mother-loving Redfield.
Yeah.
Here to save the day as always. So him and his team show up, and he's like, are you good? And it's just classic, perfect Rebecca. doesn't say anything. She's covered in blood and guts, and she just looks at him with a little bitty smile and gives him the thumbs up. So I was like,
I thought that was
awesome.
Yeah,
so
I love that part.
That whole scene right there. So
yeah.
But yeah, I like that. They showed her position, kind of explained what she's been doing, gave some supporting characters that didn't last very long, and then that's pretty much just a little bit of action. That's pretty much all it was.
Yeah. It was basically, like I said, seeing Rebecca in her element. She was kind of like trying to figure out this situation. Everything went to hell, and when everything went to hell, she could handle herself. Unfortunately, her boyfriend slash dude that got her the caramel macchiato died, and then Chris just happened to save the day. But she did have a cure. Yeah, the hero. And I liked it. I thought I liked kind of seeing Rebecca being able to handle herself when she wasn't this badass that just started I'm gonna kill this guy and this guy, but she handled herself. And the thumbs up at the end was really a perfect kind of fit to her character, and to see her and Chris kind of interact for the first time in what we assume is years, because there was never any mention of them meeting each other. I felt like there should have been more to that, but it was also very
definitely wanted to see more of what happened with them.
Yeah, like, how have you been? How are things going? Do you I wanted to see more of sort of that, but it's a movie, so things gotta move. There's time restraints. So I felt like that part was really well handled. It was cool seeing them together, and it was Chris jumped right into that big brother role, and Rebecca jumped right into that thanks for saving me kind of role. And I don't know, like, they're adults now, but that was really cool. And you did mention earlier she did grab a drink of that water, which we'll get to later, but I thought that was really oddly placed. I was like, why did she just zoom in on her drinking water? Like, what the hell does that have to do with anything? But they explain it later, which is good. It was just kind of odd to see that. And other than that, like, that's really all I have to say about this. BSAA showed up at perfect time. The sort of bad guys showed up at perfect time. Don't overthink the story of it, but the overall scene itself.
We did forget to mention that the blonde-haired assassin chick for Arias destroyed the lab with all the cures and vaccines and all the research. Luckily, and that when Rebecca was able to inject herself with the vaccine, she's also smart enough to grab a backup copy of her research on a thumb drive. So she's got that.
Yeah. Okay. So, no, the bad person took out all the, obviously, but
she's got a backup.
But I thought it was cool seeing Rebecca and Chris together, and I like seeing Rebecca in her element. I like seeing her little action scene. That was cool. What did you think, Tony?
It was good. I think a lot of people went into this movie originally thinking that she would probably have a gun and be like some kind of like super badass and everything. But I feel that what she accomplished in this scene was good enough. Like, it just shows you that she's not like a hardened combat vet or anything like that. She's still like a lot of the ways the same kind of girl she was in 0 and 1, but at the same time there was elements of how much she had changed since then, how much more confident she was. So for that part, honestly, I think it was pretty good.
Yeah, I think that's good point. Good point.
Yeah.
So after that, after the BSAA rescues her, they're outside talking, and she's like, "You should be in a hazmat suit, wearing a gas mask." And Chris is like, if the infection, if it worked like that, we'd all be dead right now, anyways. So she's like, "Oh yeah, good point."
that seemed like a little scene, but to me, that was pretty cool that Chris acted like that. He just, he's so sick of this shit, and he's dealt with it so much that he's like,
he's like, I know, things, okay?
Yeah, I get it. Like, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, but whatever. This is, I thought that was really cool. That was one of them impactful little dialogues between the two.
It was just a nice little reunion of them talking, and he's like, we need your help, and we're going to take care of you. And then it cuts to a hotel where she's cleaned up, and she's in her Resident Evil 1 gear. She's got the green T-shirt and the green and white with the red undershirt, all that stuff. And her and Chris are talking, and he's like, this is very reminiscent of the Los Enamorados from wherever Leon went, and how these things have been manipulated. And she's kind of telling him what she has found out, and he's like, well, we need to seek out an expert, which leads to the following scene where the expert is Leon Kennedy. So obvious, because he killed a whole bunch of them down there in South America. And they find Leon, and he's kind of on vacation, I guess, a little R&R. He's off of a failed mission that we don't know much about.
Oh, so this doesn't take place after the last movie because he went on vacation after Damnation, and he started drinking.
No,
and he said, "I'm on vacation."
This is supposed to take place after 6.
That's
and
what
he
I thought.
says there's even an event that he talks about in Washington D.C. So I don't know if that's what happened in 6, because they weren't in D.C. when everybody got turned into zombies, right?
No, this was a different one because at one point, like he says, like, you know, do you remember that bomb that went off a month ago? It was like that.
Yeah, like that, and then I was betrayed. So he's dealing from all these people dying around him and constantly being put in these shitty situations and having to fight the living dead and just how jacked up his life has been. So he's drowning away at the bottom of a bottle, basically drinking some alcohol.
An asshole.
And, yeah, he's in full dick mode right now. So,
I guess
Chris,
a much deserved asshole.
Yeah, he gets his time. But Chris isn't having it. Chris is, Captain America. Rah, rah, rah. He's like, get your ass up. We got work to do. And Leon's like, get the hell out of here. I'm trying to drink. Yeah. I find it funny because he finishes the bottle and he's yelling at the lady. He's like, hey, one more bottle, please. And Chris is like, no. So he pulls out his little flask. He's like, well, screw you then. I'll take this.
That was great.
And, so him and Chris are like arguing. And then Rebecca shuts down the conversation. She's like, this is what's up. And gives him the lowdown on what's going on.
She says, put your egos aside.
Yeah, she yells at him. She's like, you're like children. Put your egos aside. And I just like it cool because she took control of the situation.
Yeah, she handled it very well.
Got a couple hard asses with big egos, and she's just like, no, shut up.
Yeah.
There's no time for this crap. And she explains, she takes a sample of her blood and gives it to him. It's like, in case something happens, this is the what you need right here. This is my blood with the cure in it. And I don't know. Do they explain? They don't explain the water bottle part now, do they?
No, not yet. No, that's after this part.
That's after this part. So she excuses herself to go to the bathroom. She's in there, and of course, here's blonde-haired assassin lady again, which we really should find out what her name is.
We really should. We just call her blonde-haired assassin lady.
Yeah.
Isn't it Sonya?
Maybe.
No, it's not Sonya. Is it? Is it really? I thought you were being funny, like Sonya from Mortal Kombat. Let me see.
Right, Sonya Blade.
Yeah, Sonya. Yeah.
How am I funny? Am I like a clown? Am I here to amuse you?
I mean, like you tell stories. Your stories are funny. You're funny.
Somebody got that.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, her name's Maria. That's
Maria.
Okay, yeah, Maria. Okay, so Maria's in there. She knocks her out. She carries her out of the room. At this point, they kind of hear the commotion and they look out the window and they see the truck is pulled up with all of Arias's guys and Diego, the Hulk, is there, and he pulls out this damn minigun, this rail gun, and just starts shooting the whole place to hell. Just destroys the whole bar. And
you skipped the Leon conflict there.
There's a guy that shows up that I guess Leon was associating with for the whole Washington D.C. thing. And he was like a contact, like a person that knew things that I guess betrayed him and got everybody killed. So he's pissed off about that. And which I don't understand. What the hell was his point? Wasn't really. It was supposed to be like a little story arc for Leon right there, a character adjustment.
It was to get Leon to join to kind of get in the game.
Like, yeah, but the thing of it is, like, he goes to Leon because like this the people captured his wife and daughter, and he needed to go to. Family. Yeah, and it's just like, okay, well, so that's a thing. All right, well.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'm just thinking to myself, wait a minute. So his family's captured, some stuff happens, and then that never gets resolved. But you get that data from him too, from the phone.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So as Diego just lights this place up and destroys everything, that guy gets shot. Of course, Leon and Chris, they're smart enough to take cover, and they make it on all right. And then the little army and Diego and Maria, they pack up with Rebecca and they take off, and they see them taking Rebecca with them. So Leon has his moment where he's talking to the guys. He's dying. He's like, my family, and then he hands him the phone, and like his family's on the phone, and that leads to Leon's change of heart, as well as some information that's on the phone to guide the movie along. Yeah,
just basically there just to serve the movie's purposes, but. I guess we could start Tony. Tony, what did you think about this scene? There's a lot to talk about here.
Yeah.
Well, pretty much it was handled pretty well. Like, clearly this is the part where you see even more of how Leon has changed as a character, because we see like he's contemplating some stuff at the beginning of the movie where he's walking through, he ends up in that morgue, and the bag starts moving, and he shoots like numerous times. You see at this point now that he himself is finally getting worn down by everything that's going on. Like, Chris was getting that way for a little bit, but he kept going, you know, and Chris even himself was like wondering if, like, during the events of Resident Evil 5, was it all worth fighting for? And Leon is now at that breaking point. Like, he keeps trying to get a vacation, he keeps getting interrupted, he's been lied to. And we also have to forget, a lot of people seem to, like, never bring this up, but especially with how the Dark Side Chronicles games end. Leon is picked up with Sherry by the U.S. government, and they pretty much force him to become a government agent because he survived what the hell happened in Raccoon City.
Right. They're like,
so,
you're highly experienced. You're coming with us, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, so, like, he's been used. I mean, the shit that happened in Spain, the stuff that happened with him when him and Krauser teamed up the first time down in South America, you know, he's just been through. He's been through the ringer, and you know, he's been lied to. He's been used. You know, like, he keeps trying to get Ada booty, and that ain't happening. She's just him. So, you know, the guy is cranky, and I think they really do. The guy is just like, you know, it's like, look, I just want a vacation, I want to drink my booze, I want to get laid, that's it. And none of those things keep happening for the poor guy, you know. And I really think that it was a good coming together point for him, like, because he's just like, well, what the hell? Because they do make it a reason for him to be here in this movie, because the new virus has the elements of Los Illuminados with the Las Plagas, and it turns out that there are still survivors of Los Illuminados out there, which I was just like, oh shit, which they never really go into detail for the rest of the movie. But that's pretty much just the whole point of, like, oh, well, that's how we're gonna get Leon back into this, because he's the expert. He's the guy we're going to go.
We can't have a movie without Leon.
Yeah, even though the weird thing of it is, there is no Las Plagas in this movie at all, except for, well, kind of like a thing that happens at the end. We'll get to that when it happens. I'll remember it and I'll talk about it. But I think that they found a way to just, like, utilize the new virus to control the creatures without having, like, the master plagas that were in the other one that enabled, you know, Sadler and Salazar and the Big Cheese to control all the guys and stuff.
Also, the mutate.
Yeah, exactly, that too. So there was a lot to this scene. You know, Rebecca's pretty much, like, it's showing even more of, like, how much she's grown up. She's taken charge of the situation. You know, she's tired of the bullshit from the two boys and everything, and she's like, you know, get this to a lab that you both can trust. And, like, walks off in a huff to go, you know, like, wash her face off and cool down. She gets, obviously, kidnapped, choked out, kidnapped. Nemesis 2.0 jumps out the back, got a Gatling gun, just rips that place to shreds. And we can't forget that there was a waitress that was in, like, she got caught in the crossfire.
Yeah, she's dead.
I was gonna bring her up. Oh my god.
Yeah, like, she gets caught in it, and, like, I'm like, oh, she's roasted. And then for whatever reason, like, the hand gets blown off. And I was like, well, that's overkill, but okay.
The camera focuses on her for way too long, and we just watch as she gets shredded.
It was great, but honestly, in the end, like, again, it's another point of why what I talked about earlier in the review, that I feel that so many of the events here, they happen, they unfold quick, not too quick, and they don't drag on. And I think this scene was kind of one of the best examples of that.
Got good pacing. Think about it. The movie has really good pacing. It's like scene, okay, you know, dialogue build up, scene, dialogue build up. It just carries the movie. It's pretty good.
It does flow really well. I guess my thoughts on it, because really, Tony, you cleared it up very well. You really explained it the best. Leon is crabby. He's extremely crabby, and he's tired. Crabby. And I would say, you know, hearing that actually made me like the scene a little bit better. Overall, I like the scene. I just didn't like kind of what they did with Leon in this. I didn't like how they basically swap roles. Like, Leon is now Chris in Resident Evil 6, and Chris is Piers Nivens. You know, I like Piers' role in 6 a lot. He was kind of like the big brother, like, you got me to where I am, now I'm gonna help you. And it worked for 6, but I thought it was just kind of used again in this one, and I didn't like that. I thought that was kind of out of character for Leon. But, you know, the way you explained, like, he's tired, he keeps trying to go on vacation, he can't get him, he's crabby, that makes me kind of change my mind a little bit. Like, I get it, you know, Leon just is sick of the shit. And I really do like the kind of banter between them. They're partners, but they're, you know, partners in the same overall, you know, what they want, but they still don't get along. Their egos are clashing constantly, and I like that. I like seeing that they don't. For as much as they
feel I gotta feel like there's a backstory there that we never got to experience.
Yeah.
Like did Leon date Claire and like dump her or something?
I don't know, but I would love for something.
Because they're always assholes to each other.
Yeah, they're friends, and then they're assholes, then they're friends, and they're assholes. And you're completely right. I would like to see. I think they're going off of 6, and I don't feel like 6 was enough for them to act like that towards one another. But I would like to see something kind of previously that just made them say like, we'll work together, but fuck you. You know what I mean? I'd like to see that. Yeah. But I like to see them arguing. I like to see Rebecca just like, shut up, put your egos aside. We're doing something bigger. You guys have been through this shit before. You know how this works. Let's team up and I was like, yes, like they're gonna work together. Then she gets kidnapped. Yeah, we seen that coming. It was kind of expected.
That was in the
trailer. Then the fucking Gatling gun just tearing through this fucking small little bar in Colorado, and the camera focusing on that waitress for obviously far too long, and just watching her get shot up, I was just like, God damn, another reason why this movie is not holding back. Kid zombie, dude's wedding getting blown up, and now this chick just, her arm flies in the air, and it's like, we don't see this shit in movies.
A fixation on not decapitated, but separated arms. Like,
well, if you're a Gatling fan and you love Gatling guns in movies, this one doesn't hold back. It shows you the Gatling gun just tearing through the building and just ripping people apart. So I thought that was a little excessive, but just like, okay, that was kind of like that scene with the water bottle, like how it focused on Rebecca like drinking the water bottle. You're like, okay, what was the point of that? Just like the waitress getting just ripped apart with the Gatling gun. Just like, okay, what was the point of that? So this movie
losing her arm technically leads into the next scene in a way.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, whatever, it's no big deal. It was insane, but then the whole backstory with that one guy, Leon losing his team. It's like, oh, Leon has bad luck with teams, just like Chris does. They have stuff in common. They can't keep their teams alive. I feel bad for these guys.
Yeah, really. Everyone around him dies.
Yeah, that's how they avoid death every time. But then, it's just like, obviously don't overthink the story, like I've said before. Just focus on the characters and the scenes, and it's moving along very well paced, and then into the next scene.
So the next scene, rolling off the whole severed arm thing and their fixation on severed arms, we go to Arias. I believe this is where it goes. There's 2 parts. There's either the truck or whatever, the helicopter scene or C-130 scene, whatever. There's an Osprey. I don't know what the hell.
Oh, is this a scene with the BSAA up in the chopper?
Yeah, where they're talking about, okay, where is he? Or is this the Rebecca scene? I think it's a Rebecca scene.
Okay.
So Arias has Rebecca, and he takes her to his compound. And it shows her it's like a recreation, like a simulated version of the wedding. There's tables. And then she's like in a white dress, and there's like cherry blossoms and all this stuff on these TVs around them. Like the whole room is like monitors, and it's recreating the scene from the wedding. And on the chairs for the guests, you just see boxes, and those boxes are like rattling around with like moans and stuff in them. So there's obviously dead zombie bodies in there. And Glenn is sitting there, and he's talking to her, and he's like, he explains the whole situation. This is my family, or what's left of them. This is what they did to me, and this is why these are my motivations. And she's like, well, I figured out what's going on. The water is poisoned from the Great Lakes. It has been put into water bottles. And the air toxins or whatever, the stuff that you release, the gas is an activator for the virus, which turns people into zombies. And he's like, oh, you're super smart. You're so hot right now. And he's like showing her pictures of his wedding. And then you realize, oh, shit. She looks just like his dead wife.
Yeah. Can I add real quick? Who called it that this was going to be some sort of crazy fantasy with Rebecca, and that's why she's in a wedding dress? Was that you, Ollie, or was that you, Tony?
I think it might have been both of us.
Yeah, you guys fucking called this a mile away.
Well, like, he was fixated on her, like, when like he was spying on her, Chris, and Leon, and you never saw his wife's face during the wedding, so it's like, she's going to resemble them.
Yeah, she's pretty much a twin to his dead wife. I mean, she looks almost exactly like her. Same haircut, and she's like, oh, damn, this has just got awkward. And then, like, the next picture, you see there's Maria and Diego, not all jacked up, but just normal. And he explains, this is my family. This is everybody. They're all gone. And he's like, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to recreate my wedding, and I'm going to marry you. And she's like, oh, hell no. I ain't having it. And he's like, well... And he walks over to this box, and he opens up this box, and it's like all this, misty air comes out because it's a cooling box, and he pulls out the damn arm from his dead wife. He's had in refrigeration for 10 years or whatever. And still got the ring on it too. He's like, I'd like you to meet Sarah, which I think Sarah was his wife's name, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And she's like, oh my God, really?
This is fucking weird.
Yeah, she's like, well, I'm still not doing it. He's like, well, you don't really have a choice because I'm going to put her arm on you and you're going to marry me.
Yeah, because she tries to take a swing at him.
Yeah, she goes off.
Yeah, and then he slaps her back, and that's another reason why I was like, damn, this movie takes it pretty far.
And I like the look she gives too, like an upset teenager. She gives this look like, I hate you.
Yeah.
Like all pouty, but I hate you at the same time. You know? It's like, it's just funny how young her character still feels.
Yeah. She's much like the Rebecca we know. She's come a long ways, but
she's resilient and feisty, but you know, at the same time, she does fall into that damsel in distress role at this point.
Yeah, and then I guess he gets extremely pissed off and says, fuck it, I'm going to turn you, basically. That's what happens, right?
Yeah, so I'm going to infect you, and then I'm going to put my wife's arm on you, and basically he would be able to control her, so she would do whatever he wanted.
Oh, okay.
The arm part creeps me out, you know. It's like, why do you want to put the arm on?
Because he loves Sarah, damn it.
I guess it would bring a piece of Sarah back, but if he infected her, she would be the same as everybody else. She would be completely under his control, and it would be his wife. Basically. Yeah. She wouldn't have a choice in the matter.
This scene, like, I guess all these scenes, when you really look at them, they all have a lot to tell. Like, the movie kind of rolls very smoothly. And this scene, you really see how, this Glenn character, who is he? He's a mystery character. He seems very calm and collected. And it starts off, he's calm and collected, but holy shit.
Yeah, it progresses crazy town really quick.
It goes from 0 to 100 real fast. And he's a broken person. He has issues, and that's where you finally see it. And that's why I thought this was so strong, because it's like, has this fascination with Rebecca. And it's a coincidence that he looks like her, like Glenn's wife. Yeah. But it's also, you see that he has this family still with him in boxes, and they're still moving around. Hanging on to him. He's trying to reanimate them. It's showing you like why he uses this virus and what this whole purpose of this virus is he's trying to relive this moment that was taken from him. And obviously he's trying to force Rebecca into the situation when she's like, no, fuck you, like, I'm not doing this, you're crazy. He's like, what? I'm crazy? Like, and he just kind of like turns and just, because he starts crying.
Did you think that she was just going to go along with this?
Yeah.
He looks shocked, like,
that's
what?
Like I said, he's not there in the head, and he starts crying, and you get this, wow, dude, like, this guy's, somebody needs to lock him away. He's not right in the head. He went from just being so, oh, I love you, and you look so much like my wife, to, oh, I can't believe you're doing this. What is wrong with you? And he hits her, and he goes to change her, and then he just basically says, fuck it, I'm gonna, and that's where we go into the next scene. But yeah, very odd yet powerful sort of scene in the movie. Like, it just shows you this broken character.
It's triggered.
And Rebecca never changes character. I mean, she gets kind of sympathetic with him. Like, she kind of gets sort of on his level and tries to, like, reason with him, and he's just not there. Like, I guess that's kind of what you do with the crazy person, is you just, like, I'm not going to say anything to piss him off. But, And so that was really cool.
This isn't the first time when they actually named the virus, too. The trigger virus.
Yeah, this is kind of where they go together, and she's like, but I, know what your virus is, and I know how to stop it. And he's like, but you think you do, but you don't. And it's kind of like, I think that makes him like her more, because she's into viruses, and she's just kind of like, fuck you, I'm not going to, like...
She's smart.
Like, this is how I'm going to battle you. I'm going to tell you I know what you're doing, and I'm going to be better than it. I know how to stop it. And that's kind of like their fight, is her brain against his... sort of craziness, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's why she leveled with him, is she's like, I'm onto you, I know what you're doing, I get it, I'm not stupid.
Yeah, makes sense. So Tony, what do you think about the scene?
Pretty much, it was creepy. It was a creepy scene, but it was done really well. This is also where, like, one of those times where I mentioned earlier in the video that this is where we see Rebecca shine. As a character. Like, she may be some kind of damsel in distress at this point, but even while being captured, she's still holding her own in some ways. And I think that's done really well in this, to where she says, like, she gets, like, kind of sassy a bit and knows, says the plan, and even Glenn is, like, impressed by it, and he's like, he even said it, he's like, no wonder you were able to survive Raccoon City.
Yeah, exactly. She's already figured it all out.
Exactly. So, like, she was kind of far ahead, and even when he had to shoot down her theory towards the end, you could tell it was like, well, you almost got it. You got it more than most anybody else would have. And you obviously see when his his first change in his personality is when he literally takes the arm out of the box, turns to her, and says, "Meet Sarah." And like you see the change in his facial expressions and his tone and his voice. He's he's happier. He's not like a stoic, nice guy type thing. He's actually showing emotion. He's being happy. And
then attitude shift of his like character from being like you said stoic and focused to a little unhinged, a little chaotically happy.
Exactly. No, that's exactly what it is. And then when she rejects obviously his offer for the ring and stuff like that because he tries to put it on her hand, she throws a punch. He dodges it. Then he's like just full out smacks her, and you can actually hear him crying when he goes back. If your TV's loud enough, you can hear it.
Like the whimper.
Yeah,
I forgot about that. He tries to put the ring on her hand, and she refuses it. So that's when he's like, basically, I'm just gonna, I'll take your arm and put hers on.
Exactly. So like that was what do you call it there? That was like a big thing because it goes to show you how much of how unstable this guy is. Like he's all over the place.
Yeah, he really is. He's out there. He's out there.
So it's really nuts.
It's a good scene, and when you break down each scene so far, they're good scenes.
Yeah, they really are.
It may be weird as like a whole. It may be weird, but each individual scene is so well done. And again, the motion capture was awesome. Erin did the motion capture for Rebecca. I'm not sure who does the motion capture for Glenn. Somebody who's off as skilled as Ruben and Jason, though.
Yeah, I think I got. Oh no, I think this might be the voice actor, but Glenn Arias' character, John Demita. So that might be the voice. Yeah, that's a voice.
Yeah, he does the voice. I've been working on trying to get him on here too, so we may get to hear something from him down the road.
That'd be cool.
And obviously, I'm going
to talk to him about that.
Matt is the big one because he's the hardest one to get, but
Matt
he's been he's done a lot for the series too. So, but I am working to get John here eventually. But yeah, it's a good scene. Well acted, well captured, and interesting. Like I could just imagine them being in a room, warehouse with nothing around them but like maybe some boxes and some picnic tables acting this out.
Yeah, that would have been really weird seeing
and
that.
the way it comes out on the screen, it's like it's a really cool scene.
Yeah, it is, and like I said, it gives a lot more backstory to Glenn, gives a lot more character to Rebecca, gives her some more time to shine, and then really sets up kind of what's coming forth, his whole plan, sort of to take over.
Then we get the final act.
Yes, and then
we get a little exposition between Chris and Leon. They're putting the pieces together with Rebecca's research. They figure out from her research about the whole water bottles and the activator, and they kind of locate where his because they realize his plan. Like, okay, he wants to release this gas and activate all this virus and everybody and turn them all into zombies. Where could he do that would cause the most chaos? And they're like, New York. And
I'm sorry, real quick, I forgot to mention, I thought that was really cool that they use the Great Lakes as a place to sort of spread the virus because, one, that makes sense. Everybody drinks fresh water. Yep. And two, that's where I'm from, man. That was an homage up to my hometown, baby.
There you go.
Upper Michigan.
I remember swimming in those damn lakes. Those lakes are cold, man.
Yeah, well, they're cold. They're huge lakes. But so I was like, oh, cool. Resident Evil kind of remembers we're up here north, almost in Canada.
Yeah, exactly. So they're putting the pieces together. Like, okay, if he's going to do it, he's going to want to be somewhere close to witness and to act out his plans. So like, okay, so where would he go? It's like, well, it obviously has to be the biggest tower in damn New York, apparently. The most biggest, ego type structure that you can have. His safe house. I'm like, it's not a safe house, dude. That's like an industrial, mega complex or something. It's like 80 floors tall.
Stark Tower, but for bad guys.
Tower, yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, so that was easy enough for them to figure out.
Yeah.
And then they get some satellite footage of these trucks rolling out, and then you cut to the trucks, and the trucks are full with the gases, and they pull up in random parts of the streets and start leaking out these gases, and people start to change into zombies, and they're just killing each other, killing anybody else they get their hands on. And then it comes into the team landing in New York and saying, that we can't get any really support, but we got a couple care packages. So there were some gifts dropped off for him. You get the badass Hummer, for the badass Chris, the big bulky, beast
military
of a Hummer.
Guy, yeah.
And then you get a Ducati
for Leon, because obviously motorcycles, the jackets,
right? Yeah. And Leon's He's got his damn motorcycle jacket already ready to go. He's like, I got the Ducati.
Dibs on the bike.
Yeah, he called dibs on the bike.
I'm like, all right.
They really changed Leon into kind of like he was sort of like the good guy and everything, but now he's kind of like the badass, edgy sort of. Yeah, I'm gonna drive the motorcycle, and I'm gonna, like he's kind of taking on that role now, and I wonder if that's gonna continue with the actual video games.
I don't know. We have to see what happens. I don't know. Maybe.
Because he was more of an operative in 6. He was like very, you know, to the books, cop now sort of like government agent. Now he's just like.
Now he's more like a freelancer with attitude.
Yeah, so. With a lot of attitude.
Yeah.
Crabby and a lot of attitude.
His middle part's a little more dirty than it used to be.
Yes.
So they're rolling through the city and they're looking for the trucks that are marked with the red A for Arias, and they realize, okay, we can destroy the virus by incineration, by fire. So we blow up the trucks, and they do well. They blow up a couple trucks, and they pull up on this one, and there's a van there, and they get out and they're investigating the van, and they got one of the side characters. What's his name? Diego? Not Diego. Diego's the big dude.
Yeah, Damien,
the goofy one. He's the guy with the mohawk, right? He's not like, okay, so you got DC's like, you know, the techie smart guy, and then you got Nadia, who's like the sexy mysterious lady, and then you got Damien, who's like your typical this guy dies.
Can I mention real quick? I don't want to take us too far off, but there was this little banter between the BSAA agents earlier about Breaking Bad, and that was one of the moments where you're like, okay, why?
Just in this world.
And it's like, I get it.
I liked it.
They're trying to be relevant. Breaking Bad was huge.
It's meta.
It was meta. It was huge. 2 years ago, 3 years ago. That's not relevant anymore.
Makes me kind of wonder too. Yeah, I was like, that was several years ago. So this is taking place. If you look, timeline chronologically for Resident Evil.
I didn't think about timeline wise. Where does this take place? I just thought they're trying to be relevant now, and that's not relevant anymore. I thought that was really
Resident Evil 6 came out in 2012, right?
I think so. Yes. Yeah. Yep. Well, no, it came out in 2012, but it takes place in 20. When does that take place?
Does it? I think it's 2010 and 2011.
So it's in that time frame when Breaking Bad was still around. So this is not long after Resident Evil 6.
So they were kind of. I get what they were trying to do. It just
in this day and age, yes, it doesn't. That doesn't exist to us anymore. It's reruns, you know. But as far as the movie is concerned, it's still happening during that time period. This is like 2013, 2014.
Okay, well, a lot of people probably thought like me, and they're like, "Well, what? That's not relevant." So that explains it. Thank you.
And, well, another thing too, being in the military, I know that we spend a lot of time binge watching shows when we're deployed.
Okay.
And shows that you've never seen before, so they may have just been watched it, when they were in deployment on the barracks or something. So
I do appreciate the fact that they tried to kind of,
break the wall a little bit.
Yeah, I like that.
And it was weird to hear them name drop that show too. I was like, did they pay for that?
Are they gonna get sued?
That probably wasn't cheap. What if they had said The Walking Dead? I'd been like, yes.
Oh my god, that would if they would have said Walking Dead, I would have been all for it. I would have like, fuck yes, they said that. I loved it. Breaking Bad, I love Breaking Bad. Don't get me wrong, one of my favorite shows of all time. But Walking Dead would have fit so much better.
Zombies inside of zombies. That's like 16 wall breaks.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
So, anyways, they come up to this van, right, and then you got Damien. He goes to open up the back, and it's two Cerberus dogs. They jump out. They're typical. They look exactly the same as they always have. Bigger, but they immediately rip his head off with like one bite.
They're like super powered Cerberus dogs.
Staying Cerberus dogs. And they rip Damien's head off like it's it was little. I think that was a little over excessive. I'm like, just one bite, not like, can he just rip his throat out like a normal dog?
Yeah, you know what makes me a little mad here? Makes a BSAA look really, really bad and amateur.
Yeah, they never really do well in any situation, do they?
We'll get more into that later, but this is the start of the BSAA just looking like shit, and that's one of my biggest problems is the BSAA is supposed to be like the guys, like especially in the beginning when they're talking about the guys, like we got a BSAA agent here, and everybody's like, oh snap. It's like, yeah, these are the guys that go on, like these are the big dogs, and it's like they just kind of goofs.
So, Leon's like, I got this, and he jumps on his Ducati and he takes off, and the dogs follow him, and we get to this absolutely ridiculous. My opinion is the weakest point of this whole movie.
Yes,
is the freeway chase scene. He's flying down the freeway on his Ducati, and the dogs are chasing him at like 80 miles per hour. And I'm like, I don't understand why the dogs were that fast.
Yeah, no, that was ridiculous.
And they're flying, and he's like doing all these weird moves on his bike, like he's riding a horse in the Wild West. And I'm like, I don't think your bike functions like that. You probably would have flipped by now or laid it down and wrecked, you know? So, but he's doing this. He's like controlling the steering wheel or the handles with his feet, and he's like laying to the sides and flipping off the stuff, and he's shooting these dogs, and then he's also blowing up civilian vehicles.
Oh my God!
Just
yeah, he
no
pretty
reason.
much killed a family and a couple other people.
Who else fucking rides in a van but a family? A family died.
Van, you know.
They were going on vacation.
Michael Bayed all over the scene.
And I really hope,
yes.
When I first seen that scene, that was the first time I got this negative kind of feeling about this movie in my head. I was just like, oh God, no, they're doing action for action's sake. It's not cool because it ties in. It's cool just for being cool. And I was just like, I even said in my videos before, I've talked about this. I said, I really hope that they explain this, and they're going to ruin the character of Leon. And sure enough, it wasn't explained. It was cool for cool sake, and it was honestly my least favorite scene in this entire movie.
And it's not a long scene, and it's one of the only scenes like this. There is some over-the-top action as we get to the last act of the movie,
yes,
but it's not as bad as this. So
no, this was over-the-top.
I will say it's always around Leon, though.
Yeah, it is, and yeah, I'll talk about that towards the end. But yes, I did not like this scene at all. Never really helped anything. And he kills the dog, the second dog he kills, he shoots the sign down. You did like that?
I like how he shot the sign down and the dog just like plat.
Do you like the fact that he threw a fucking grenade at it after it was dead and then blew up some more vehicles?
I didn't like it as in that was badass.
Oh,
I
okay.
laughed. It was funny to me. I was like that's why I liked it, because I was like, yes, that's funny.
Okay, that's fucking retarded.
Overkill.
Kind of like that, yeah. Overkill, yeah.
Yeah. So they there's that scene, and then Chris gets to the headquarters, and he's searching for Rebecca by himself, right? And he's walking through these hallways, and Arias is watching him on the monitors, and he says, "Hey, you're too late. I've already injected her with the virus. In 20 minutes, she's going to turn." And it's odd to be like, okay, 20 minutes exact, because he sets his watch like 20 minutes, and it's legitimately 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm like, is there like a stopwatch on this somewhere? Is this like a countdown, like a kitchen timer? It's
your basic the self-destructive sequence has been activated.
I expected like Rebecca to go into robot mode of being like, the self-destruct sequence has been activated, like just repeatedly.
Yeah.
So Arias is like taunting him, and of course Chris is Chris, so he's gonna do what it needs to do, and that's when the zombies show up, and they're coming out in just swarms of zombies coming after him, and Chris kicks some ass. Ruben was amazing during this whole scene. It was so freaking awesome. The fight with Chris and the zombies was just epic, man. It was cool.
Can we pause, because you're doing an excellent job covering, but you covered so much now that you covered the city scene. So we'll continue from this part, from where he kicks ass, Leon kicks ass in it, to the end. But okay, this is where basically where they kind of roll into New York and everything's going down and people are turning into stuff. This is where the movie starts going really fast and things
really
start becoming really silly, and it just feels rushed. Also, to add that, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I went back and watched Resident Evil Damnation, and might be an unpopular opinion, but the animation was better in that movie. It was
darker,
highly detailed. Do you think that's why?
I think because the whole movie was darker, and this one had a lot of daytime elements to it.
The reason why
the cities were designed, I mean, you went from Gothic cities that could be very repetitive to, okay, now you're in New York where everything just looks the same, man.
The reason why I say that is because this is kind of where the CGI kind of showed. They were repeating scenes. The lighting was kind of silly. Like, I know if the movie's good, don't worry about the animation, but the movie's entirely animation. It's kind of important, and this is where you kind of seen some flaws in the animation. This is where you kind of seen some flaws in the rushing of the story. The trucks move in, they shoot the gas, very Dark Knight Rises.
Very much.
You got Leon on his Ducati, my least favorite scene in the movie. You got BSAA looking like shit, the dude getting his head ripped off. I didn't honestly I could have probably said some good things about this, but now the way you summarized it and you went through it, I didn't really like this part. This is kind of where
this is the weakest in general. This whole series of blowing up the trucks and the Ducati on the freeway. This is probably really the worst part of the movie.
It really is.
And you know what? You think about it too. Most of the movie at this point has been small, confined spaces. Or tight corridors and rooms. This is the first time we've seen a bigger scale environment, which was the city, and it was not animated that well.
Yes, I agree. And, I said a lot of good things about previous scenes, but this scene, I just wasn't a big fan of. It looked blah. It was silly. It was rushed. And I think now where you're getting into the Chris with the hallway, that's where it kind of starts getting good again. That's where this...
It comes back on.
Yeah, it gets back into...
Focus.
So we'll get into that, but that was my overall thoughts on this. I thought it was kind of... I explained it 10 times.
Yeah.
But Tony, what did you think about this whole part?
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was great.
That's good. It's good to get varying opinions.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn right, especially when it's the right one. Anyway,
I love that.
No, I really did enjoy it because this is like the plan going like full like throttle. This is like, coming down to the wire type stuff. All of New York City is like getting infected. It looks like there's chaos and madness on a scale we haven't seen like this since pretty much
Resident Evil 6. Resident Evil 6.
Yeah, I guess I try to forget that game exists, but
sorry to put the bad taste in your mouth.
I just use Raccoon City.
Okay.
But yeah, no, that was really great on how like they went about and did it, and how they tracked down. They knew about the gases. They found all that and everything. I thought the parts with the dogs were great. I was kind of surprised that the dogs were so fast.
They were way fast.
Yeah, I mean, granted, if you ever tried to shoot them before in the older games, it was pretty tough. But this time around, it just seems like Chris couldn't get, and he had a rapid firing weapon too. So it was strange that he couldn't catch them.
This is the first time we've seen them because they're supposed to be bioweapons. They were infected, but they were actually researched as well to turn dogs into this. So this is the first time maybe we see them as a true bioweapon, not in a small hallway somewhere.
In the last movie, weren't they? Their heads split open. Was that in the last movie?
Yeah, but that was Las Plagas. I mean, that wasn't so much of what this one is.
Yeah, but they're so heavy when they're not that big. Yeah. I just thought they were overdone, but
But it was it was really, really fast.
Yeah, but no, Tony, you're making some good points. Continue. Sorry to cut you off.
And I think it was great when it came time for the actual like chase on the highway and stuff, because obviously like Chris was like he can't handle this. It's like go take care of the rest of the tankers. I got this, and somehow Leon got the dogs to follow him, and they didn't tear into Chris. And he's looking at the body of his friend there, Damien, and it's like, oh, that sucks. Hey, they cut out. Why can't we see the rest of his decapitated body? Like,
I was like, you don't show the head, but you show that lady's arm get blown off earlier.
A kid zombie.
It's very weird, but Japan's going through this thing right now where they're censoring a lot of violence in the country. I found out, so it's kind of like seeing stuff like that. They weren't gonna show the whole thing, even though like they literally showed his head flying off when it got bit.
It's flip flopped because it used to be where they would censor it in America, they would censor it in Japan. America was fair game, and now they're censoring it in Japan, where they're censoring it in America, where Japan's cut off. Yeah, they flip flopped that. I heard recently or something.
Yeah, well, either way, like I mean, it's like I'm glad there's still something to it at least. Like they are keeping some horror elements for it, so it works. And then the highway scene was just ridiculous in so many ways that I loved it. Like that, to me, like that scene was great. I mean, it's insane the stuff Leon's doing on the bike. Again, Jason Font he did a great job for that scene. The fact that he dropped the sign on that dog and it cut it in half pretty much perfectly, and like Leon was like, just to be safe.
Here's a grenade.
The cars coming for it. Here's a grenade. Boom. It's like there was like 4 of the fucking cars coming, and I'm like, okay, at this point right now, we're getting to the point where everything is just ridiculous, and it's working.
Of Family Guy with the lady, I think it's the reporter, the Asian lady, she's driving. She's like, okay, I turn left now. Good luck, everybody. That's how I feel about Leon throwing their grenade. He's like, all right, good luck, everybody.
That pretty much is, that's how it goes. But yeah, I mean, like overall, like that, like the scene as over the top as it was, I still really enjoyed it because it was just like it just gets a chance to show off more of how badass the motion capture work can actually go.
That's true when you look at it like that and just kind of appreciate all the little parts that make this movie. And you did say earlier that you thought this movie didn't have any flaws, so it would make sense why you liked it. But I like how you explained that, and you're like, don't look at kind of the story of it, but just look at the badass bioweapons, look at the good motion capture. There's a lot to like about this scene, and now I see that.
Damn right you do.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was trying to meet you on your level, but
oh, you can't get on my level, son. But yeah, no, like I really did. I can understand like where like it does seem ridiculous to a lot of people, but like I try to look at things like at different angles and stuff. But like I said, I still realize like what it was. It was really good, and it's pretty much like a prelude to what Ali's going to be talking about really soon. Anyway.
Yes, and let's get into that. Now, what happens next?
Okay. So where we left off is Chris. He's in the hallways. He knows Rebecca's on a short time limit, and then these zombies start pouring into the hallway. And this is, like I said, this is when Ruben shows off. Man, he goes all in on this part. The fight scene was so cool. He's got his M16 or maybe an M4, his rifle, his AR, right? And these zombies are coming down. They're still zombies. They're slow, but there's a lot of them. And he's just working to work, like he's grabbing them in holds and turning them and using them as shields and throwing one off to kill another, using the bayonet that's at the end of his rifle to cut things up, and he's just popping them one after another and dropping them. And it's funny because there's a part where he goes and he shanks one. He's about to change the magazine, which he does this really cool flick of the rifle, which pops the mag out, and he's gonna put the new one in, and another zombie grabs him, so he turns and like suplexes that one.
Yes.
He does, and then he jumps up and then like pulls the rifle and pops in the new clip and just takes out the zombie that he had stuck it in earlier. It's cool, man. It's such a cool, and he's like ducking between legs and flipping them and all this other stuff. And he basically lays out this whole hallway until there's maybe like 3 or 4 more left.
Yeah. And then Mr. Ducati steps in.
Mr. Ducati, and I don't know how he got the bike in the building. He does not let go of the bike.
He just won't leave it behind.
Somehow he comes down some stairs, and now he's got this damn motorcycle in the bottom level of this building, and it's all slow mo as he's driving. Like he's doing 70 in this hallway, but he takes I don't understand. It's like he's going 70 and he slow mo shoots these zombies, but it wasn't that much of a hallway, so it's like he would have flew past everybody.
Like you said, more of the over the top silly action was linked to Leon and his.
But it's
fucking
funny, though,
Ducati.
It's fun. It's fun as an enjoyment factor. Enjoy it because it's fun. It's don't take it serious. Enjoy what's going on. So he gets there and he's like, hey, whatever. This is what's going on. He gets off the bike and then the door opens again. Here comes like 50 zombies. So now they're working together, and Chris is still with his rifle, taking them all out, beating the hell out of all of them. And Leon, this is when he goes straight John Wick. Like every shot is a perfect shot. He's just got this pistol with infinite ammo.
Yes.
If you count the rounds, he's got like a 18 round clip. So I'm not sure what gun he's rolling with there.
I thought somebody said a 30, like he fired off 30 shells there.
I had people reload. There was a gap in there between him shooting things to going back to Chris that maybe he put a new mag in.
Oh, he had to. That would have been the only time.
Yeah.
There was a time he actually put the clip in. Yeah. It's where they're fighting, and it eventually goes to Glenn watching all the destruction, and when it cuts back, it's immediately Leon throwing the clip in.
But he did go 18 or 19 rounds. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
He does do about 18 or 19 rounds before that, then doesn't reload and doesn't run out of ammo. So I'm like, dude, that's a little excessive. But again, don't take it seriously.
Exactly.
What he does with it is cool. He's like zigzagging, and just he like duck a reaching zombie and come up and headshot, spin this one around, stack 2 on top of him, shoot both of them with one bullet. It was bad, man. It was badass.
Yeah, it was.
It's a really, really fun. Like you see, Ruben and Jason just shine in this moment. It's so cool to watch. Good choreography, just awesome action scene.
Yes. I guess can we get into discussion on it because I have a lot to say just about this. I absolutely loved this scene with minor complaints, and the reason why I loved it is because we finally got to see Leon and Chris working together and just destroying, just mopping up zombies. Just wrecking shop basically. I fucking love that. I'll just go through some of my minor complaints real quick just to get them out of the way because there's more I liked about this scene than I didn't. I didn't like the Leon with his Ducati coming up the elevator. I was just like, leave that fucking thing behind, man. Come on.
The Ducati thing got a little crazy.
I know they must sponsor this movie, but
it's a nice bike, though. It's a nice bike.
It's a nice bike, but come on. And then right away, Chris kind of does Chris Wick. And I wasn't expecting that because they showed Leon Wick, but they didn't show Chris. And I wasn't a big fan of the Chris being really quick and agile, but I was a huge fan of Chris being badass, brute Chris, pile driving zombies, using the Bayonetta. Like, that's what I like to see. So when I seen Chris just take a zombie and flip over and smash its head, I was like, hell yes, because I'm a huge fan of Steroid Chris. I get it. You know, like, his whole life was to get the best he could be to fight. Like, this is what he set his goals out in life, is to fight like Wesker and these sort of things. So of course he's going to be big. So I love seeing him just grabbing zombies and flipping them over and smashing their heads. Not so big of a fan of him being really quick and agile. I'd rather, you know, big buff Chris just destroying fools. And the bayonet scene was awesome. And then Leon comes in, and I really love seeing the choreography with Leon, just really quick, just basically just gun. They call it gun fu, where it's just that basically that really like that fighting style of shooting. I love that. I love seeing them work together. And probably my second favorite scene in the entire movie. Very minor complaints, but overall,
definitely
just
one of the,
Leon and Chris.
Probably one of my favorite things throughout all of Resident Evil.
Yes, it's just fun. Have we ever seen them work together to actually working? That was the first time. It was.
Yeah, and, it was the first time. That's why I loved it so much.
You know what that felt like to me? It felt a lot like Resident Evil Avengers.
right?
It really did.
Now we need to throw in like Claire and
let's get all together.
Bring everybody else into it.
I don't know.
The Resident Evil Adventures.
On paper, that might sound really silly and stupid, but watching Chris and Leon work together, it's like, no, that was fucking awesome. I loved it.
Yeah, it was pretty badass.
Yeah. That was my thoughts on it. Tony, what did you think about that scene?
I loved it. There's literally nothing to complain about for that scene. For me, because like I love John Wick. I've done like over 20 years of martial arts myself, so seeing all that stuff, everything they went through with it. I mean, it's an insane amount of practice. It's also insane that it works with like the zombies, like that they were able to do the things they did. I mean, they piled up one another on each other. They used 2 bullets, 1 zombie.
Using shields to block the other ones.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it was stupid, though. Like, Leon was fucking kneeing, like, one in the face, and it's, like, hitting him with his elbow. Chris punched one in the face, and I'm like, if you accidentally punch him in the mouth and stuff, and you cut your hand, I think at that point, you're just overthinking it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Walking Dead, like, that would infect them, but like this is Shane did the same thing in The Walking Dead when he was trying to get that device for Carl. Like, he literally ran by a zombie and he didn't have any shotgun ammo left, so he punched it in the face. And I'm like, come on, like
this is how you get infected. Don't do this.
I mean, kicking and all that stuff is one thing, but again, like the whole scene was just, it was shot well. It wasn't like it was okay. It was a little bit over the top, but in all the right ways.
It wasn't.
And it was good editing. That's how you edit a fight scene.
Yes,
it really is.
What is that? That movie, that kung fu movie where they're going up a skyscraper, really big. I can't think of the name right now. I'm blanking.
Police Story?
No.
Equilibrium.
I'm gonna look it up. What I'm trying to say is it was very on par with really high quality kung fu / action
choreography.
movie. Yeah, very well choreographed movies. Yeah, it was definitely up there. It was very well choreographed and cut.
And definitely we'll have to ask the if we get we got to talk to Ruben Langdon and Jason Font at one point. We got to talk to them about how amazing this scene was to shoot and like what it went into it.
I guess I can throw that information out there. So I've been in contact with Ruben. He's a little busy right now traveling. I'm supposed to follow up with him next week, and he is excited to come on the show.
Ooh, that's big news. That's amazing.
That's a little treat for everybody. I haven't made the official announcement. Things could change. They always do. It's really hard for me to book people and then make announcements because you don't know what's going to happen. And sometimes you wind up in situations like Kevin where it's like, okay, we could do this, but it needs to happen now.
That was very short. But it was something we couldn't pass up, and you did an excellent job with the Kevin Dorman. By the way, I should add right now, if you guys want to hear from some of the voice actors that were on the movie, we have the Residents of Evil podcast, episode 3. We have Erin Cahill. We talked to her about Resident Evil Vendetta, and then the recent one, Resident Evil, the Residents of Evil podcast, episode 5. We have Kevin Dorman, that Ali and your buddy Sev interview him, and it's really cool behind the scenes.
Shouts out to Sev for joining me on that. He just happened to be in town, and he had a blast. He really enjoyed it, so I'm just glad he got to experience that with us. So
yes, good job, guys.
So look forward to that. Ruben is a very good potential. And also we got Paul coming up here pretty quick, and there's a lot of people in works. A lot of people are asking for, basically if you're asking for them, trust me, they're on the list. It's just coordinating all this stuff.
This is basically your fans asking for these people to a fan who's already on top of it.
Yeah, I've got a long list of like probably 15 pages with every piece of contact information I can find.
Yeah.
And I'm blowing a lot of them up, and it's like, okay, we're working on it.
There you go.
Anyways,
right, like I said, so like the scene for me, perfect in every way. I thought like it was well choreographed, and thankfully, like as badass as that scene was, and it's probably like the best scene in the movie in my opinion. We do get more of that later on, which obviously you can go into and talk to about right now.
Yeah, real quick, I want to clear it up. I was talking about the raid.
The raid.
Yes.
That's what I was trying to reference, and I just screwed it up by blanking on the name. But yes,
awesome movie.
Very similar to the raid, just with the tight corridors and the countless enemies and the very well choreographed fighting scenes.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
So after they clear the hallway, they split again to search for Rebecca and Glenn. And Chris locates her. He finds her in her room. She's strapped to the table from earlier. Where we kind of missed the part where Glenn injects her. There wasn't much going on there except that he straps her to this table, he injects her, and that's when he says, "You got this long." Yeah. So Chris finds her, and he goes to rescue her, but in the process of that, Diego pops out, Nemesis 2.0. And he's squaring off against Chris, and Chris obviously is getting beat down because this is a monster. This is a giant dude. But he's kind of holding his own. He can't do anything to him. This guy's like indestructible in a way. So he basically drops an incendiary grenade at his feet and sets him on fire. He's like, you know what? Burn.
I'm gonna go low just to win.
Yeah. I don't need to fight you straight up, bud. I can just set your ass on fire, call it a day. That's what happens. He burns him up, and it drops Diego.
Yeah.
And he grabs the doctor, and he's like, "Where's the cure?" And so the doctor's like, "It's obviously." He tells him where it's at. I don't know why the hell it's on the roof.
Yeah,
I guess for easy transport. I don't remember seeing a helicopter pad on that roof, but that's probably why. Easy transport to get in and get out with it. So
Ollie, don't overthink it.
Yeah, I know. Don't overthink it. So they head to the roof, and they get up there. Well, Glenn Arias already knows they're coming for the cure, so he's waiting. And as soon as they get out of the elevator, they're about to turn the corner, and it's like an open rooftop. It's got some plant, beds, and then in the middle of this rooftop is a big glass ceiling. And Glenn's on one side where the cure is going to be, and Chris is on the other side with Rebecca coming out of the elevator. And Glenn starts shooting at him, and Chris is shooting back. They're both missing horribly because they're not looking where they're aiming.
I did see a video on Facebook, I think by GameSpot, where it says you put 100% into speed but 0% into accuracy, and that literally is what it is.
Or the two worst players in your team.
Yes, yeah.
So they're not hitting anything, and Chris manages to sneak around by hugging the wall and staying low. He gets around there with his pistol. They both got pistols. It looks like they're like G18s, which are like automatic pistols.
Yeah.
With a lot of ammunition. And they're shooting the shit out of everything but each other. And this comes back to that gun foo stuff again, where they're like dodging and scooping and just taking each other's guns and passing back and forth and missing until one of them runs out of bullets. And then they at this point they keep stealing the gun from each other, don't they? I think one steals it, the other one steals it back, and the other one steals it back.
Yep.
Until,
they swap the guns owners.
And then Glenn's like, screw it. He just takes the knife, doesn't he?
Yep.
What does he? I think. He takes the knife. They run out of ammo. They're still squaring off. There's no weapons. The knife gets thrown away. So Chris, with his old suplex, tosses him onto the glass ceiling.
Yeah.
And they're both fighting on top of this glass ceiling. This is some badass triple pane solid glass because it's not breaking for anything. It's cracking. Yeah. But it's not breaking. And then they're sitting there fighting, and Glenn's kind of got the upper hand. He's doing some ground and pound on Chris. And Chris flips him through a little spot that's already kind of broken, and it just drops. Glenn just falls. He breaks right through. He goes all the way down.
There was a quick 2 seconds where Chris actually had the upper hand, and it was nice to see.
Yeah. So he hits. I was like, okay, they're not going to show him fall all the way. It's going to be a cutaway so he can come back later. No, they show him fall all the way from that angle. For Chris is watching, all you see is his body hit, and then black.
blood everywhere. I was shocked too. It's one of the moments where you're like, okay, they're gonna cut away. Oh, okay. Well, they did that.
Yeah.
And you just see him explode. I like that though. That was one of them weird scenes where they kind of focused on that. I thought that was pretty enjoyable, and they could only get away with that sort of in a CGI movie. I mean, I've seen movies do it, but they got away with a lot of stuff you wouldn't see in actual movies that they did in this movie.
Yeah. So it was pretty well done. Again, the action was good. Accuracy was horrible. The fighting was entertaining.
Yes.
And Chris he overcame the situation, but obviously, as we know, that's never the end of it. But do you guys want to discuss this part, or you want me to keep going?
No, let's quickly discuss it, because then we can get into the final boss. But,
yeah, we're getting to the last like 10 minutes of the movie coming up here soon.
And there's a lot to discuss there. So real quick, Tony, what did you think about this scene?
No, it's like everything else in the movie. I fucking love it. No, they did this really well. I mean, like, this was also like a very kind of different fight from the one that they had at the beginning of the movie. It's also different than the fight in the hallways, and it was done really well. Like, I mean, and Chris like is literally getting the shit beat out of him. Like, this is why I keep saying this guy needs to learn how to fight better. And seriously, this dude's brain has got to be an egg in a jar, because I mean, he got his head crushed in Resident Evil 6.
Off of everything.
Yeah,
like in Resident Evil 6 when that creature like just floored into the ground, and the ground literally broke when his skull hit it, which is why he got the amnesia.
Yeah.
Or so we think anyway. Like, it's the same thing. Like, the glass broke because his head hit it, and thankfully he was able to recover fast, and he flipped Glenn right through the glass. And when I was watching that the first time, and you watch Glenn fall through the glass, all I could think of was like the old Looney Tunes Wile E. Coyote, where all of a sudden you're just watching it happen, and all you hear is
boom.
yeah, a little puff of smoke, except the puff of smoke is a puff of blood.
Yeah, it's a splatter of blood.
Yeah, and I'm thinking to myself, that's awesome. Okay, I'm loving it. So I think they really did that pretty good.
Right.
Okay, my thoughts. I honestly, I know you love it, but I had some issues with it. I didn't like.
Here it goes.
I'm the Debbie Downer of this. No, overall, I really did enjoy it, and I like seeing Chris finally kick ass and get the upper hand and basically, slam Arias down into the glass. And I also love seeing he actually fell and they didn't cut away and he, died.
Yeah.
What it shows.
Yeah.
I thought the gun play was more of that sort of action for action's sake. I thought it was kind of silly, but silly aside, very well choreographed, very awesome motion capture, and very awesome action. So I really enjoyed that. As far as the overall story that's kind of going on right now with Rebecca and the time and everything, it's your basic run-of-the-mill sort of, you got to hurry up and get to the cure before the time runs out, and you have this guy now who so overall it was good. It was action for action's sake, but very well done and entertaining, to say the least.
Yeah, they keep cutting back to the time limit thing because they're obviously he's running out of time, so that's a factor.
Yeah, self-destruct sequence.
Yeah, she's basically there on her deathbed at this point, so
yes,
there's a sense of urgency. So after this, we see Glenn drop. He hits with the splat, and Chris is he's gonna go find the cure. Well, you see Diego is not dead. He's just all cooked up and barbecued, and you see him walk up to Glenn's body. Glenn's not dead either. He survived that fall.
Insane how he's still alive.
Yeah, I mean, the dude was bombed and he lived. I have to think that he probably has a little bit of virus in him somewhere.
Yeah.
Something is going on because he's taken some big hits and walked right through them. But he's obviously not getting up from this. Now, it's interesting here because Diego starts taking things off, and you see this mechanisms he's got built into his body start to break and come off. And this is where that the Las Plagas from Los Humananos comes in. And Resident Evil 4, like Krauser, he changed his arm into that weird sword-looking axe thing. Mm-hmm. They were able to manipulate their bodies and morph and stuff and to mutate into something else. Yes. And what he does is basically absorb Glenn into his body, and Glenn takes over his body, and they turn into this gigantic, huge, Resident Evil style monster that's just
kind of like a mix between the Tyrant and the G-Virus, where you have Glenn's head and you have his head, but it looks like it's on a Tyrant's body.
Probably 18 feet tall.
Yeah.
It's big. And he climbs up there, and before Chris can find the cure, Glenn is already back up to the top of the roof, and they're, is trying to murder him. And this is when Leon shows up.
with the
Probably
Ducati again.
the absolute best part of the whole movie. I laughed so hard, and it's just because of how funny it was to me. The elevator dings, the doors open, and there's Leon with the damn motorcycle again.
Fucking Ducati again.
He goes flying across the rooftop, and like he's doing the gun fu, and he's shooting them, and basically gives Chris a moment to run and look for the cure while Leon takes on Glenn. And Leon is all over the place. He's sliding around. There's a part where Glenn throws him up in the air like 15 feet. He flips upside down. He's like shooting the whole way down, like a Dante style move.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, Dante. That's a good way to put it. Devil May Cry Dante.
Yeah. And then, but Glenn gets the upper hand, and he's got Leon. He captured him. He's holding him. He's about to murder him. And just from out of nowhere again, here comes the damn Osprey, and it's got the BSAA. It's got DC and what was her name? Nadia.
Yes.
And Nadia's in the back, and she's got a fucking railgun.
Yeah, so from
a railgun sniper rifle.
Jesus Christ, a gun straight out of Halo.
Yeah, this gun is like beastly, and she shoots, and it rips right through the face on the chest, which I think was Diego at this point, or maybe Glenn's. I don't remember which face it was, but it rips off that and that whole shoulder, which allows Leon to escape, but pisses off Glenn.
Well,
so Glenn,
it takes out 4 skyscrapers with
Yeah,
probably
that's what I was gonna
thousands of civilians.
I was just saying, that just kind of gets overlooked. It literally went through him and kept going through 4 more buildings. And then just the buildings start to crumble and fall.
Honestly,
Like,
I don't care if you're BSAA. Who the fuck has the right to own a gun like that? That is too much power for anyone. Okay,
So,
put that aside.
It was that gun was insane, man. It was OP. So
Extremely.
But this gives Leon a chance to escape. Glenn focuses his attention towards the Osprey. He jumps in the air, catches onto it, and then extends like these tentacle spears from his hand. Like he went like, I don't know what you want to call this, but like fingernails.
Yes, like Resident Evil live action. I don't want to compare it, but in what was it, the 3rd movie? Anyways.
Yeah, it's the 3rd one.
Yeah.
One where,
I hated that. He had the big
those weird
sharp claws that extend like webs.
Like, yeah, he shoots those out, stabs her. She drops the weapon, and he's just kind of hanging there. He's going to destroy the Osprey, and here comes the damn motorcycle again.
God. To save the day.
He's got the motorcycle again, and he's hauling ass across the rooftop on it. He launches it off the edge of the roof, jumps off, and the motorcycle hits Glenn and blows up. He doesn't care about the Osprey at this point. I'm like, okay, that Osprey's going down. He just got. I mean, you had to blow something up, right? No, the Osprey's good. Glenn's still good. He's just hanging out. I think he drops off the edge of the Osprey, but he shoots out those nails things and catches himself. So he's just hanging there in the air. And at this point, Chris has found the cure, came back, picked up his rifle, loads up the the grenade round and shoots one down there in the 203 and hits Glenn. I don't forget what he says here, but he shoots him right in this big red glowy orb.
Yeah.
You probably should have shot at the beginning. And it blows him up.
Yeah.
End of Glenn.
That was very unmemorable because I don't remember exactly how that happened. And I watched it 3 times.
He had some line when he fired that grenade off. Do you remember what that line was?
Yeah, he said, what was it? He goes, I think it was, hold on, give me a second. Oh, yeah, he goes, I think he said, say goodnight, asshole, or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I like that.
You know what? He should have pulled a surprise, motherfucker.
Some fries, motherfucker.
Some fries, motherfucker. You die, motherfucker. So yeah, that's Glenn blows up. The Osprey somehow is still flying and okay. Nadia's okay. She's just got a jacked up shoulder, and he's able to get the canister with the cure to Rebecca in time to cure her.
Save the day.
Yeah.
And then we should add the miraculous ending where they have a toxin that saves the entire city and converts everybody back into normal civilians.
They load up the cure, the canisters. There's like 50 or 100 of them. I don't. If his great plan was to basically turn everybody to zombies and just cause chaos, why did he have 100 things of like a gas cure? I don't
overthink it.
I guess. But they load them up in the back of the Osprey, and they just basically open the tanks and say, "Here you go."
Basically,
and they just let it go into the air.
And it's a happy ending. Like we saved the city.
You just see all the people that were zombies start to turn back into humans, and
Yeah, don't worry.
Realize that they're horrible people now.
Don't worry about all the disgusting body parts that are in their stomachs.
The fact
they're fine.
4 skyscrapers.
yeah. Don't worry about the mess. But that was very. What was that newest Harry Potter movie that just came out?
Fantastic Beasts.
Fantastic Beasts. And Where to Find Them.
Fuck, spoiler. But that's kind of the ending of that.
Yeah.
Oh god, that is such.
But it is a happy ending.
It's such a weak ending. It's such a let's just save the entire city by sprinkling a little fairy dust. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of weak, but it is a happy ending. It's just a little bow on top. Like, okay, everything's wrapped up nice and neat.
It's just as bad as clones. When you introduce clones, you've completely ruined your progression of the series because you can get away with anything. Just like that. Oh, we have a toxin now that'll turn the entire city back. That's a cop out. That's an easy way to have a happy ending. I hate those. So, what I hate out of the way. Leon with his Ducati on the rooftop fighting the monster. I didn't mind as much because at this point I've just accepted that Leon is the Ducati and the Ducati is Leon, and together they are one. So it's like, sure, whatever, you know. And then Leon doing all his flips and stuff was a lot like the last Resident Evil movie where he was with the tyrants and, you know, they were fighting with the tank and everything. You know, fine, whatever. It was a mix between the Tyrant and the G-Virus, which I thought was, you know, cool, I guess. We got sort of the G-Virus in Resident Evil Degeneration, and we got sort of the Tyrants from Resident Evil 2 and Damnation, so I thought, like, this is different, it's interesting. When it started Spider-Manning out with its claws, I didn't like that at all because it literally brought back flashbacks to the live-action movies and left a bad taste in my mouth. I didn't like that at all. The railgun was fucking just literally action for action's sake. That was just something to make the trailers look cool.
Yep.
That was absolutely positively like just overdone. Just absolutely made no sense. Literally, if anybody's a terrorist in this, it's her. She probably killed, you know, like she contributed to killing more people than Glenn did. Absolutely just stupid. That aside,
it was still good.
I like and hate this scene because this is kind of, you know, like I'm trying not to be too negative on it, but this is, you know, the super happy ending that's super fake and the buildings exploding. Overall, it was a very enjoyable scene. It was entertaining to watch. It was very well choreographed. The boss, you know, seeing Glenn come back, sort of transformed into that sort of Mr. X2. I thought that was really cool. Then they, you know, blow him up and save the day, and you know, there was a lot of good stuff about it. Overall, the movie was really enjoyable. Like I said, I just had some issues, but if you overthink it, you're gonna have issues. I just, I don't know. I thought it was a fun Resident Evil movie, and it sort of stuck in with the games, and it wasn't perfect, but it was still enjoyable. That's my thoughts on that. Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. Like it all came together towards the end. I really enjoyed it. You know, like he comes back. Chris tries to fight him, and then pretty much Chris just like runs and leaves everything for Leon to fight by himself while he goes and finds the gas. Yeah. Obviously, the over-the-topness with the railgun thing was just like, he really just wasted 4 skyscrapers that probably had a lot of people inside. Like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, really, like, and come on. Even I'm just like, the fuck?
Like,
yeah, Tony at this point is like, all right, I've been good this long. I will say this.
Yeah, like, I mean, even I've got my. I mean, like, it'd be one thing if she shot the rail gun and took off like the roof they were on a little bit, because that would make sense. But
yeah,
4 fucking skyscrapers, like Jesus. But like, I thought it was really cool. I thought Leon going 1-on-1 with the mutated Glenn was really good, because that move where he like pretty much like brings his foot down and like cracks on his head. And how everyone's like, how it's like Devil May Cry. Like, it kind of is, because Dante actually does get a weapon. I believe it's called the Beowulf, where he gets like these arm and foot gauntlets that are like razor sharp. Yep. He does that, but also Virgil gets it as well. And especially in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, that's like Virgil does a shit ton of that moves like that. So it was pretty cool to see that thrown in there as well. I thought it was like a really good fight. It's very entertaining. The bike gets so much action in it; it's just fucking hilarious.
Definitely.
And yeah, like I mean, it all really wrapped up very nicely. I think, you know, like they had the canister, they admitted it, and all the people who were eating people like 5 minutes ago got cured. And now they're picking human flesh out of their teeth. So you know, like you know, it's the little things you don't think of.
That's what I thought of. I was like, how is this okay? How do they all feel like cured, and like how are they not just puking their guts out in disgust of what just happened, and how is this not a tragedy? Like, see, like this is probably the worst thing to ever happen to America. The entire city was turned into zombies, and half of them ate the other half of them, and now they're cured. Like, God, there's gonna be what's the word I'm looking for? Therapists and counselors. Their business is going to boom
big time. You're 100% right on that. Like, cause like they just showed all the people like getting transformed and then transformed back. But I think in the end, like everything like pretty much worked out. Like Chris and Leon like had that little like funny moment at the end where like Leon was like, he's like, Chris, how long do you think we can keep this up? And he quoted what Leon said earlier, and he goes, I never make plans that far ahead.
Yeah.
And everything. And it's kind of like another thing where they both know that they're kind of destined to do this until they either die or they finally get all these people that are making bioweapons. Because as they did say in the movie, there were, I think, like 10 pop-up attacks in like the United States alone when it was happening. So, the weapons are out there, and people like Chris and Leon are there to deal with it and everything. You know?
We didn't mention earlier that this is like I said, this was a different universe that was kind of similar to this universe, but in this universe, outbreaks kind of happen on a regular basis. Like, this is not out of the normal for things to happen. It just doesn't happen to big cities like this.
It's like Transformers, the Autobots, they're just kind of there.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
is like Resident Evil, the zombies, they're just kind of there.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is not uncommon.
Coming to a city near you.
Outbreak.
That's a great vacation spot.
Right.
But like honestly, the way the movie wrapped up, its characters that were left alive, the things that happened. We also can't forget that Maria is actually still alive because for whatever reason she was near a truck that blew up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think I kind of breezed that, but I think she got blown up and she landed and looked like, okay, she's dead. But there was a little teaser after everything's wrapped up in the bow and everybody's happy and, Merry Christmas. But it cuts to her, and I think she picks up her dad's. This is where it's kind of, we didn't know this either, but Diego is actually Maria's dad, from my understanding, from my research. And I think she picks up his mask he was wearing.
Yeah.
Yep. And you gotta, I mean, that's either going to lead into the next movie or something, but it's definitely a teaser of something to come.
She acted like that was her boyfriend in this movie. She like rubbed his face and stuff.
It was weird. Well, I mean, it's like your father's tortured. He's not.
Sure,
he's a tortured
Ollie.
beast at this. So I guess I don't know. I mean, that's what it says.
The other thing I noticed actually about Maria was the fact that I think she's blind in the one eye that's covered. If you look at the final scene with her when she's holding her, goes near her dad's mask, the way the camera angle is, you can see that her eye is white and there's like a black scar underneath it.
That makes sense.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's like I said, a character that because here's the thing, in every kind of CGI movie we've had, there's been an ending where things just didn't seem to go anywhere. Like in the first one, they recovered Curtis's body after it was in the G virus, and they focused on that. Nothing ever happened with it.
I like the second one's ending a lot, actually.
Yeah, the second one, with Ada talking to somebody about the Plaga. Like, where did
the guy coming back from getting shot, but he actually lived, and Leon decides to take his first vacation. I like that one a lot.
Yeah. But that's the thing though. Like the real ending after all that and everything is when Ada is talking to somebody mysterious about she has a Plaga sample and everything. Just like at the end of
that led into Resident Evil 6. So
that led into 6.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
because 5 was between 4 or the damnation was between 5 and 6.
Yeah. Okay. So she must have been talking to like Simmons or something like that.
Yeah.
Then.
And this is between 6 and 7.
Well,
I was hoping
it'll
see
be
a tie-in at some point to 7, but they never did any of that. So
yeah, I mean, either way, it'll be interesting to see exactly what happens with this if they do another one. Which I mean, we'll know in about like 3 years because these movies are usually about 3-4 years apart anyway. So
right,
yeah,
something that kind of just occurred to me. Take like the virus in this allows you to mutate and to become something else, and it's manipulation, mind control. Is that not exactly what the little girl had in 7 over the Baker family?
Yeah, she definitely did have mind control.
Yeah,
and they were able to manipulate their body into something else.
But this has been going on for a while, because this was in the last movie too. They had control over the liquors.
Yeah, so it has been a progression at some point. Yeah, they don't exactly tie together, but there is an underlying story of the progression of the virus, it looks like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we still don't even know like anything about Seven and what happened with the little girl and stuff like that. Like, we all know that like she began to rapidly age and stuff, but other than that, like, there was really nothing about who this corporation was that had her and as a bioweapon and stuff, which hopefully not another hero explains something.
Yeah.
If it ever decides to come out.
Hopefully soon, yeah.
Well, right now, I mean, we got San Diego Comic-Con going on. Maybe Capcom will announce something, because Capcom had the Street Fighter, the Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite panel, and they launched some returning characters into the new game. So we might hear some Resident Evil stuff related to them. I'm not sure.
Maybe, but probably Tokyo Game Show if it takes that long.
Exactly, or Gamescom, that one in Japan. Germany.
But this movie overall, you guys would agree with me, where if you're a Resident Evil fan, it's definitely enjoyable and it's something you should watch. You're either really going to like it or you're going to think it's pretty good. I think at the absolute worst, you'll think it's decent.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's either you're really going to enjoy it or you'll fall somewhere in the middle where it's good, it's enjoyable, and watchable. I don't think anybody's going to absolutely hate the movie.
Yeah, I haven't talked to anybody that absolutely hated it, and it definitely through all the faults I've had, it definitely stays true to the characters for the most part, which I really enjoyed. I did, like I said, I still enjoyed the second one more. So if you guys are interested in kind of hearing a discussion about that, please let us know down in the comments. But overall, I say definitely check it out. It was fun. It was enjoyable. It had its faults. It wasn't perfect, but it was overall a good movie. Tony, what was your overall, again, just to recap kind of your thoughts about it?
Oh, 10 out of 10. Golden Globe Awards all around for everybody.
They're just being funny
for everyone.
No, like, for me, like I said, this is my favorite of the three. I think if anybody's a Resident Evil fan, especially if you like certain characters within the series and everything, and especially if it's one of the main three that we have, it's definitely something that no Resident Evil fan should miss, because like I've stated before on past podcasts and telling people about it, Resident Evil now, like, the community isn't as divided as it used to be, because everybody was all like, for like Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6, and then there were others who just liked the originals because of the control style, and some of them, like myself, that had been there since the beginning. But it really is a movie that has a lot for everybody and does it well. It doesn't drag on. It doesn't go too short. It doesn't really shortchange a lot of characters. I mean, so I feel that, like, they could have gave a little bit more emotion sometimes to the characters and everything like that. But honestly, at the end of the day, it was worth the wait, and it was really good. I still say it's probably the best one out of them all. Again, that's just my opinion. I could be totally wrong, but again, it's really worth it for any Resident Evil fan out there. If you call yourself a Resident Evil fan, you gotta go see that. You gotta buy this movie. I mean, I think you can rent it on PS4
you can still rent it for digital, or you could buy it. Either one is still up for rental, so at least experience it.
I feel like if you do enjoy it, though, you should buy it if you have the money to spend, just to support, like we said before in our podcast, just to support these movies that actually tie in with the games and sort of stay true to the games. Like I said, if you don't like it, absolutely don't. Vote with your wallets. But if you do, it's good to support things like this. I would even, from the flaws I had, overall I enjoyed it. I still would love to see another one. I absolutely would love to see another one. So definitely, if you do enjoy it and you have the means, like the money and the funds to pick it up, do so.
Right, and that is one of the things. If we want Resident Evil to stay alive, if you absolutely hate it, then by all means bypass it. If you have at least a little interest, or you love Resident Evil enough to give it a try, invest in it, because the only way we're going to keep it is by investing in it. If we're going to lose it, is when we stop supporting it, and they're going to be like, okay, it's a dead product, and they pull it.
Pretty much.
And we won't see it again. So it's a tricky situation. It's really your personal preference, but we got to try and at least to support the effort and the actors and everybody that's involved in it. So
for sure.
And as for my take on it, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I love seeing all the characters. I enjoyed the villain. It did get a little crazy at some points, but it's a good movie. I liked it, and I give it 4 Ducatis on a freeway out of 5.
There you go.
Well, that concludes the Residents of Evil podcast, episode 5.5. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I know we had a ton of fun talking about Resident Evil Vendetta, and if you guys want to see us talk about other Resident Evil movies, please let us know down in the comments. You can check out some of our other podcasts in the links above. If you want to follow the Residents of Evil on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, or Instagram, you can do so at ROE Network. I'll leave the links down in the description. And we also now have Residents of Evil merchandise, so if you want to check out some t-shirts, mugs, hats, shirts, posters, all different kinds of stuff, I'll leave the link to our Redbubble account down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you back at the Residents of Evil.